Chapter 836. Old Ancestor, I've asked around. The Azure Dragon Emperor said that it was caused by his cultivation. The nine-tailed fox Empress sighed softly in her heart, but she also understood Bai Qian's helplessness. Back then, when Bai Zixi was born, she had caused a phenomenon in the heavens and earth, and the void was filled with golden clouds. As for this divine elephant, it was recognized as the will of the heavens. And Bai Zixi did not fail to live up to everyone's expectations. Her atavistic bloodline and her strongest talent, the spaced owl law, were both opportunities for her to become the sole ruler of the world. At that time, Bai Qian must have been looking forward to it. After all, the nine-tailed fox tribe was one of the great tribes of the Great Desolate Era. Although their tribe had ended up in the desolate lands of the Shenzhou continent, according to the ancient records of the tribe, the nine-tailed fox ancestor was a demon god from the Great Desolate Era that could suppress dragons. With that person's strength, as long as he didn't fall in the Great Divine Devil War, he would detect Bai Zixi's aura sooner or later. At that time, if he could issue a decree for her to ascend, Qingxiu would no longer be the demon king of the northern frontier, but the true overlord of the Shenzhou. Therefore, Bai Qian decisively rejected the three emperors' request to accept Bai Zixi as a disciple. After all, the more karma there was, the more it would affect Zixi's qi. But now, the Qingxiu clan was burdened with the killing intent of the Divine Master. If Bai Zhiro was stubborn, with that person's temperament, he would not let anyone from the Qingxiu clan go. Most likely, the ancestor wanted to send Bai Zixi to the 10,000 Demons Sacred Mountain because he wanted to borrow the Azure Dragon Emperor's power to give her a chance of survival. Was it caused by that old thing's cultivation? Bai Qian shook her head slowly. She had seen the strange phenomenon in the void that day clearly. Heaven and earth were overturned, as if an immortal had descended. Furthermore, the demonic might contained within it was the true nine heavens saint might. Although the old dragon's cultivation was terrifying, it wasn't enough to attract such a spectacle. He was lying. Forget it. Let's not worry about it for now. Did Zhiro agree? No. Ancestor, what do you think she's persisting for? The nine-tailed fox Empress gritted her teeth. She felt a burst of anger whenever Bai Zhiro was mentioned. I don't know what she's holding on to, but the secret in her heart will definitely overturn the situation in the Shenzhou continent. Perhaps it's also a form of protection for our race. Now, I only hope that Zixi can grow up quickly. Bai Qian sighed and turned to leave. The nine-tailed fox Empress was the only one left. She looked exhausted as she stood at the peak of Green Hill and remained silent for a long time. Nine Nether Mountain, Great Hall at the peak. Demonic winds blew in all directions on the mountain, and the demonic aura shook the sky. There were large birds looking down from the sky and black tigers leaping from the mountains. Colorful feathers overflowed as they rushed over from all directions. Now, the entire northern borderline had their eyes on 9 Underworld Mountain. All the demons wanted to witness the crowning ceremony of the 11th Demon King with their own eyes. It was just that most of the demon clans did not come to congratulate him. Instead, they wanted to see how embarrassed this king you would be. Although there were many demons in the northern frontier, they were all ruled by the 10,000 Demons Sacred Mountain. In the past 1,000 years, there had never been a demon who dared to proclaim themselves as king and conspire to rule the world. Currently, this Nether King had risen to the top in a domineering manner. He had only used a year's time to stand at the peak of the northern border. Although he was feared by others, he more or less lacked some foundation. Looking at the demon race, which of those who could be called kings and emperors did not have a long history and many experts in their clan. A woman who came out of nowhere, gathered a bunch of rotten fish and shrimps, and wanted to become a demon king? Ridiculous. In the eyes of many, if not for the little princess of Green Hill, Bai Zixi, holding the fort on 9 Underworld Mountain, it would have been slaughtered and suppressed long ago. However, today, the king you had openly challenged the rules of the northern frontier. The 10,000 Demons Sacred Mountain would definitely not sit by and do nothing. For 7 days, the entire northern frontier changed drastically. It was as if a storm was about to come. He, Isn't this young Master Gene E of the Golden Condor clan? Why? I heard that 9 Underworld Mountain used to be your clan's territory. Now that it's been taken over by someone else, how do you feel? Suddenly, a cold laugh came from the crowd of demons. All the demons turned to look. They saw a young man in a golden robe, with a long face and a nose, looking coldly at the person who spoke. He did not say anything. Behind him, there were 2 fierce-looking elders following. Their auras were terrifying. It was obvious that these people were not just here to watch the show. This is going to be a good show. The Golden Condor clan thinks of themselves as the #1 royal clan. They have never taken Green Hill seriously. Now that the little princess of Green Hill has taken over this mountain, I'm afraid that later there will be a battle. Sigh, it's not just the Golden Condor clan. This King Yu is extremely arrogant. Even the Ashwolf clan can't stand it. If there's a chance later, I would like to see how strong this King Yu is. The demons stood in front of the palace and discussed animatedly. Suddenly, a terrifying demonic aura came from the palace. 9 Underworld was dressed in a black robe. His expression was cold as he slowly walked out of the palace. Beside him, Xiao, Pe, Hua, and a few other 9 Underworld Mountain God Emperors followed closely. Only Layering Shadow was nowhere to be seen. Ling Xiao had sent them here to investigate the situation in the northern frontier. The second divine envoy was still here. According to the information he received, this divine envoy was also a 9th-grade Great Emperor. Although his strength was not as terrifying as Dugi Yunjin's, this person had the blood of the demon clan flowing in his body. The northern frontier was the territory of the 10,000 demon clan. If he wanted to kill him here, there would be many risks. Knowing the attitudes of the various clans would make it easier for Ling Xiao to set up a plan to kill the demons. Everyone. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the peak of the mountain. Then, the demons' gazes landed on the beautiful woman in front of the palace. Suddenly, 9 Nether Mountain fell silent for a moment. Most of the demons present had only heard of King Yu's name. They had never seen her in person. Moreover, she was a vicious and merciless demon. No matter how one looked at it, she looked sinister and ugly. But why was she so enchanting and beautiful? Swish! Hiss! 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 Immediately after, when the crowd saw the other graceful figure beside 9 Nether, gasps could be heard from the top of the mountain. Huahua's leather armor clung to her body. It made her look even more imposing. Her waist was slender, and her legs were long and slender. Her fair neck, which was exposed outside the leather armor, seemed to emit a divine light. Although she did not emit any demonic aura, the coldness on her face revealed her supreme nobility. She gave people a sense of arrogance that kept them at arm's length. Gulp! Suddenly, the anger in the demons' hearts dissipated. At this moment, they only wanted to approach the 2 demonic women and ask them how old they were and whether they had a good partner. No, they would tie them up and bring them back to the clan to get married on the spot. Welcome, everyone, to my kink-conferring ceremony. Seeing the expressions on the demons' faces, 9 Underworld's eyes flashed coldly. Although 9 Underworld did not know why Ling Xiao asked her to gather all the geniuses and experts of the various clans in the northern frontier on 9 Underworld Mountain, she still felt slightly uneasy. Young Master can't be thinking of killing all these demons in one go, right? That can't be. Although Young Master's talent is close to demonic and his methods are brilliant, Ling people may be famous in the eastern frontier, but compared to the northern frontier, it is really not enough. Given Young Master's thoughts, he would definitely not do such a risky thing. But why? Chapter 837. Originally, 9 Nether had occupied the mountain to recruit more demons and strengthen her position. Moreover, as she made a breakthrough in her cultivation level, she gradually regained her lost memories. Back then, even though the 9 Netherworld Downing Phoenix clan had been massacred by the Divine Master, the Blue Dragon Emperor was also involved. In other words, the 9 Nether clan did not go to the central border willingly. They were forced. Among the 4 emperors of the Demon Clan, she was the clan leader of the 9 Nether clan. She was also a 9th-grade Divine Emperor and was supposed to be on par with the Blue Dragon Emperor. However, the Divine Master seemed to have reached an agreement with the Blue Dragon Emperor after the sacred sect unified the world. He used the lives of all the clans in the northern border as an excuse to force the Nine Nether clan to follow the Divine Master to the central border. It was also because of this that the Blue Dragon Emperor became the #1 demon emperor in the northern border and dominated all the clans. The demon clan also respected the Blue Dragon Emperor because she resolved the conflict with the Divine Master. Yes, the demon clan was now forced to live in a corner of the Shengzhou. However, without the Blue Dragon Emperor, the Divine Master could have sent the Divine Master to kill the demon clan. However, although the Nine Nether clan was once an emperor clan in the northern border, the Blue Dragon Emperor's prestige had been established in the past 300 years. The demons that were originally under the wings of the Nine Nether Phoenix clan were either killed or became disciples of the Thousand Demons Sacred Mountain. Therefore, Nine Nether had never revealed her true self. She only secretly recruited subordinates and rose again. However, now that the young master had ordered her to establish herself as queen, she had obviously become the enemy of the entire demon clan. Once the Thousand Demons Sacred Mountain sent people to suppress her, her previous efforts would be in vain. Could it be that the young master now had the strength to fight against a 9th-grade divine emperor? Impossible, right? It had been less than 2 years. Even if the young master was extraordinary, how could he reach the 9th-grade divine emperor realm in such a short time? As for the forces behind him, it was even more impossible for them to fight against the entire demon clan. What was the young master thinking? Since everyone is here, I'll be straightforward. Nine Nether's gaze swept across the crowd in front of her. Her beautiful eyes flashed with coldness. Today, I establish myself as the 11th Demon King of the northern border. Does anyone have any objections? Most of the people who came to the Nine Nether Mountain were royal prodigies and elders. Although the demon clan was usually united, they were also bloodthirsty and arrogant. They would not allow anyone to challenge the authority of the Demon King. Wait, sure enough, after hearing Nine Nether's words, the golden-robed golden condor young master, Genie, stepped forward and faced Nine Nether. King Yu, in our northern borders, there are countless people who call themselves kings. However, none of them have the guts to proclaim themselves as kings. I'm afraid that King Yu's actions are somewhat inappropriate. Genie's expression was gentle and his tone was calm, but the meaning behind his words was clear. You, King Yu, have been conferred the title of king without a proper reason. You have broken the rules of the northern borderline. Oh, so? Nine Nether's eyes were indifferent, as if he did not take Genie's words to heart at all. However, it was this unruly look that made her even more seductive. Arrogant. So today, King Yu had better bring your men and scram down this mountain, lest you bring a fatal disaster upon yourself. Fatal disaster? You? The corners of Nine Nether's mouth suddenly curled up into a smile. Instantly, the eyes of many demon clan prodigies widened as they revealed looks of infatuation. Hee, I've long heard of King Yu's terrifying means. Why don't you let this old man learn a thing or two from you today? Beside Genie, an elder of the Golden Condor clan stepped forward, his emperor's aura rippling around him. He was actually a 6th-grade great god. Xiao Tong, who had just taken a step forward, subconsciously retreated. F***CK. That was close. He almost got into trouble. This kind of heroic act of saving a damsel in distress should have been a great opportunity for the Son of Destiny to show off and embarrass himself. However, the longer he followed Ling Xiao, the more Xiao Tong understood a principle. Only by staying alive would he have more opportunities to show off. Only by being safe could he reach the pinnacle of the world. Then open your eyes wide and take a good look. Nine Nether smiled disdainfully and walked to the center of the square with light steps. At this moment, her body did not emit any aura, but inexplicably, everyone felt a terrifying heat in their hearts. King Yu, actually, I can help you. As long as you agree to be my concubine, I'll help you accept the challenge from the Golden Condor clan today. Bah, cruel wolf, Who do you think you are? King Yu, follow me, and no one in the northern borderline will dare to bully you. King Yu, I'm the young master of White Ape Mountain. King Yu should know the strength of my clan. If you're willing to marry me, I'll help you kill this stupid condor today. At this moment, a series of cold shouts came from around the square. The smile on Jin Yi's face froze instantly. He turned to look at the group of mesmerized young masters behind him. His lips trembled slightly, but he did not know what to say. Looking at the attitude of these people, it seemed like they were not just joking. No. Didn't they say that they would fight 9 Nether Mountain together? How could they do this? You think you're worthy? 9 Nether's expression was cold and arrogant. Her gaze swept across the faces of the young masters. Hearing this, the young masters' expressions changed. Their eyes were burning with anger. Arrogant. King Yu, we'll destroy 9 Nether Mountain today. Boom! Endless demonic aura swept across, turning into black clouds that covered the sky. Instantly, a gust of wind blew across 9 Nether Mountain. The powerful cultivator of the Golden Condor race no longer hesitated. He soared into the sky, and endless golden light pierced through the clouds. It turned into a 1,000-foot-long golden claw and pressed down on 9 Nether's head. You overestimate yourself. Previously, Ling Xiao had sent her a message asking her to create chaos in the northern borderline. Although 9 Nether did not know what young master meant by this, as long as it was young master's orders, she naturally did not dare to disobey. Around his body, a demonic glow began to blossom. Faintly, it was mixed with a frightening heat. Although the 9 Nether race had been destroyed for close to 300 years, she still did not dare to use her race's special ability in front of everyone, in case the Blue Dragon Emperor and the others saw through it. However, with the power of the Nether Fire in her spiritual power, even the Divine Master would not be able to see through it. After all, the power of fire was one of the most common talents of the demon race. It would not attract too much suspicion. Buzz! The golden claw pierced through the void and fell from the sky, instantly enveloping 9 Nether's figure. The sky shattered, and layers of demonic chi swept out, instantly shattering the mountain peaks and ancient forests. It was obvious that the Golden Condor race elder had used his full strength in this attack. Of course, the most direct way to intimidate was to use the most direct method. However, just as the demon race looked at 9 Nether with pity or mockery, she only stretched out her jade-like hand and gently pushed it upward. In the next moment, the 1,000-foot-long golden claw slammed down and collided with the jade-like hand. Then, a terrifying scene occurred. The golden claw suddenly stopped in the void, unable to descend any further. On 9 Nether's face, there was a hint of mockery in addition to extreme coldness. The entire square was dead silent. Everyone's expressions froze at the same time as they stared blankly at the beautiful figure in black. Although the demon race had heard that the Ghost King was very strong, they did not expect her to be this strong. She broke the full-powered attack of a 6th-grade God Emperor so easily. Chapter 838. Crack! A shattering sound was heard in the silent 9 Gloom Mountain. Everyone could only see countless cracks on the golden claw. In the end, it turned into rays of golden light that sprinkled down. From the beginning to the end, 9 Gloom did not emit any terrifying energy waves. She was calm and insufferably arrogant. Gulp! The elder of the Golden Condor clan swallowed hard in the air. He had used almost all of his strength in the seal just now to embarrass 9 Gloom. Self-proclaimed king? You can't even defeat an elder of the Golden Condor clan. How can you call yourself king? But now, it seemed like it was going to be over. Let's see if you could take a hit from me. 9 Gloom raised her head, her eyes indifferent. Suddenly, a demonic light shot up into the sky from her jade-like hand. Then, everyone watched with their mouths agape as a 100-meter-tall spiritual seal rose into the sky with endless Tao laws flowing in the sky. The scalp-numbing heat waves swept out like waves, emitting a majestic and heavy aura. The void shattered, and the Tao was obliterated. However, just as the elder of the Golden Condor clan was about to defend himself against the spiritual seal, A mysterious Tao rhyme fluctuated in the space around him. Although it was only for a moment, Nine Gloom's attack was already in front of him before he could react. What the F*** CK? The elder of the Golden Condor tribe lowered his head and stared blankly at the spiritual seal that had obliterated his body. All he could feel was a searing pain radiating from his feet. Then the pain gradually increased until it consumed his entire body. Gulp! The peak of Nine Gloom Mountain fell into a dead silence again. At this moment, even Jean Yi's face was completely blank. Only Nine Gloom seemed to have a trace of doubt between her brows. To be honest, with her strength, it was not that she could not kill a 6th-grade Divine Emperor. She was even confident that she could fight a 7th-grade Divine Emperor. However, it was too easy. The elder of the Golden Condor clan seemed to be imprisoned. He could not resist at all and was burned into nothingness by the nether fire in his own spiritual energy. Miss Nine Gloom, you don't have to thank me. At this moment, Nine Gloom suddenly heard a soul transmission. She turned to look in the direction of the Great Hall and saw Xiao Pu smiling and nodding lightly. I didn't expect this fatty to be so capable. Nine Nether came to a realization. She looked at the demons and said coldly, "Who else wants to try? King you dare to kill my clan elder. You're courting death." Jean Yi's expression was ferocious, and he was incomparably shocked. Since the Golden Condor clan was known as the #1 royal clan in the northern frontier, there were naturally many powerhouses in the clan. However, a 6th-grade Divine Emperor, even in the 10,000 demonic Sacred Mountain, was considered a top-notch fighting power. Yet, he had been killed so casually. Third Elder. Yes, young master. Beside Jean Yi, another elder of the Golden Condor clan stepped forward and looked at Nine Gloom. Just now, he only felt that there seemed to be a strange Taoist rhyme floating in the void, and then the elder seemed to be imprisoned by some kind of force, and he didn't even have time to resist. Although the power only appeared for an instant, it was enough to be fatal when the two Emperor gods were fighting for their lives. His cultivation realm was 2 realms higher than 9 netherworlds at the 7th-grade god Emperor realm. However, facing this newly ascended demon king, he still felt somewhat fearful. "King if you surrender now, you may still have chance. Once all the powerhouses of the Golden Condor clan arrive, your 9 Gloom Mountain will become a barren land." The third elder of the Golden Condor clan's eyes were gloomy, and his golden robe shone with a blinding demonic light. Above his head, there seemed to be a demonic shadow with wings drooping, looking down at the world. However, at this moment, Nine Gloom's face showed no signs of panic. How could a mere 7th-grade Divine Emperor from the Bird Clan make her submit? The young master said to make a big commotion. It would be best if the entire northern frontier noticed this place. In that case, she would use the Golden Condor clan as a sacrifice for the young master's arrival. Buzz! With that thought, Nine Gloom moved lightly, and a purplish-black spiritual light suddenly rushed into the sky outside her body. That deep and evil color made her look like a demonic demon from the 9th underworld, and it instilled fear in people's hearts. "You don't know what's good for you." The third elder of the Golden Condor clan's eyes twitched. However, at this point, there was no way out. Otherwise, his Golden Condor clan would become the laughing stock of the entire northern frontier. He waved his hand, and golden feathers suddenly appeared in the void. Divine light flowed on the feathers, and Tao patterns covered them. As the third elder pressed his hand down, the feathers suddenly turned into rain, shrouding Nine Gloom. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The blue sky was torn apart, and countless black cracks appeared in the void. Thousands of golden lights fell from the sky like a sea of stars, containing terrifying power. Seeing this, Nine Gloom's pretty face turned serious, but a trace of black flames rose in her eyes. At first, it was just a trace, but in the blink of an eye, it turned into a curtain in the sky. Boom! The world turned dark, and it was a kind of extreme darkness where light was extinguished. In the dark, It seemed like a pair of ancient, fierce eyes slowly opened in the darkness. Chirp! The demons heard a loud phoenix cry from the ninth heaven, and in the next moment, two wings covered with black feathers suddenly extended from the black curtain, enveloping Nine Gloom's body. Purplish-black flames lingered on the feathers, as if they were connected by Taoist rhymes, and they emitted scalp-numbing waves of heat. The moment the third elder of the Golden Condor clan's attack came into contact with the feathers, it was instantly annihilated. A look of shock appeared on everyone's face, and they stared fearfully at the slender figure that slowly walked out of the darkness. It was a beautiful and enchanting woman with fair skin and a straight body. However, unlike before, there seemed to be a black flame dancing in the middle of Nine Gloom's brows. On her back, two black wings were folded together, revealing an indescribable demonic aura. Golden Condor Clan, I invited you to participate in the ceremony out of kindness, but I didn't expect you to provoke me again and again. Today, I will use the blood of your Golden Condor Clan as a sacrifice for my coronation. Nine Gloom's tone was indifferent, and she revealed her half-demon body, especially that pair of black eyes filled with flames, as deep and cold as the Nine Gloom abyss. But why did it feel so familiar? Demon. Nine Gloom is a demon. Everyone, let's attack together and kill this demon. Jin Yi's body trembled, and he staggered backward. At this moment, he felt an inexplicable sense of regret, especially when the elder of the Golden Condor clan was killed by Nine Gloom. Jin Yi suddenly realized that not all demons would give face to the Golden Condor clan. In Jin Yi's opinion, no matter how heaven-defying the Dark King was, he would not dare to make an enemy of the Golden Condor clan. That was why he was confident that he could control this demon. But now, this woman was obviously a lunatic, and she did not care about anyone at all. Oh no, it was a heart-chilling, heart-wrenching feeling. Young lord, let's go. The third elder of the Golden Condor clan gritted his teeth, and he felt a terrifying pressure. This pressure did not come from the realm, but more like a bloodline suppression. Chapter 839. Trying to escape? It's too late. Nine Nether took a light step forward, and the blue stone beneath her cracked. Her silhouette turned into a series of afterimages, floating in the air like a dark flame. She streaked across the sky and pounced on Jin Yi. Killing a 7th-grade Emperor God Elder might drive the Golden Condor clan crazy. However, killing a young lord of a royal family would send the entire northern borderline into a state of panic. For hundreds of years, there had been disputes in the northern borderline, but no ultimate powerhouses had fallen, and no young lord of a clan had been killed. After all, in the immortal path, whether humans or demons, the most important thing was inheritance. If the inheritance was broken, the enmity would be irreconcilable. As long as they were not mortal enemies, most people would not dare to cross this line. Young lord, you're courting death. The Golden Condor clan's third elder's face turned cold, and fear appeared on his old face. He did not expect King Yu to be so ruthless and decisive as to attack the young lord of the Golden Condor clan. Boom! Boundless golden light shone down, and endless ripples appeared on the square. The Golden Condor clan's third elder took a step forward and appeared in front of Jin Yi. His originally illusory, demonic figure gradually became clearer and more dazzling. The two great demons collided, and the void within 100,000 miles was shattered. At this moment, the demons could only see the two figures colliding continuously. The terrifying power covered the sky and annihilated all living things. Many elders of the demon clans had already lit up with spiritual light and shielded their young lord behind them. Their faces were filled with astonishment. They were not only surprised by Nine Nether's strength, but also by the fact that she was able to suppress a 7th-grade emperor as a 6th-grade emperor. They were even more surprised by the fact that King Yu was even more ruthless than the rumors said. She actually dared to attack the young lord of the northern borderline's #1 royal family. The deafening sound of the collision echoed for thousands of miles. The entire Nine Nether Mountain was filled with golden light and raging flames, destroying the ancient forests, mountains, and rivers. However, as Nine Nether unleashed her full strength, the Golden Condor clan's third elder's face became more and more shocked. The Golden Condor clan had always been good at killing and speed. Their blood flowed with ruthlessness and dominance, and a ruthlessness to kill everything. However, at this moment, the third elder felt that the woman in front of him was 10,000 times more ruthless than him. Die! All of a sudden, a loud roar was heard from 10,000 miles away. The third elder, the Golden Condor clan, stood in the air. Golden light gathered in his hand as he pressed down on Nine Gloom's head. Boundless divine might instantly rippled and turned into a demonic shadow that was hundreds of meters tall. It extended its wings and covered the clouds and the sun, revealing an endless amount of ferocity. Above the demonic figure, golden light bloomed. Tao patterns turned into feathers, and a terrifying blood chi shook the nine heavens, startling all the demonic beasts. Nine Nether raised his head and looked at the demonic shadow that contained destruction. His eyes were calm and deep. Then 10,000 rays of demonic light suddenly lit up between her eyebrows. Layers of purple flames surged around his body, burning the void within 1,000 feet into nothingness. The Tao laws, order, and space-time were all annihilated at this moment. Only the scalp-numbing heat was left. It surged like an ocean and completely enveloped the demonic figure. Chirp! Mournful screams resounded in an instant. Countless streaks of golden light scattered down from the sky. It was a spectacular sight. The Golden Condor clan's third elder's face paled. He gritted his teeth and formed a series of hand seals. Boom! A sudden explosion resounded in the heavens and earth. Under the layers of black flames, countless streaks of golden light pierced through the clouds like a sun that exploded out of thin air. Nine Nether let out a muffled groan. Her delicate body trembled slightly, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. The Golden Condor clan's third elder retreated hundreds of meters before he managed to stabilize himself and stand tall in the void. However, at this moment, the aura on his body was also extremely weak. It was obvious that he had damaged his foundation by destroying his demonic soul. But the moment he stopped moving, Nine Nether took a step forward. Her body was surrounded by a sea of flames. She did not give him a chance to breathe as she descended from the sky. Trying to escape? On the square, Jean Yi's face was already pale. Originally, he did not really want to kill Nine Nether. He only wanted to let her know the power of the Golden Condor clan and then take this peerless beauty under his wing. He did not expect this woman to be so crazy and ruthless. Not only did she kill his clan's elder, but it seemed like she did not intend to let him go either. Damn it! Just you wait. When I step onto Nine Nether Mountain again, I will skin you alive. But just as Jean E was about to turn and run, the space in front of him suddenly rippled. Then, a fat figure appeared out of thin air, looking down at him arrogantly. Where do you think you're going? Human, if you dare to kill me, the Golden Condor clan will not let you go. You, Jean E exclaimed. However, before he could finish his sentence, an ancient saber suddenly appeared in the young man's hand. The saber slashed down from the sky. With Shao Pauper's providence and cultivation level, the Golden Condor clan's young lord could not resist at all. Moreover, of the two powerhouses behind him, one was dead and the other was severely injured. The remaining demons had long since distanced themselves from the matter. They could not wait for the matter to escalate so that they could reap the benefits. After all, although the demons were united, the Blue Dragon Emperor suppression was the prerequisite. Otherwise, the battle between the demons would be even more terrifying. The law of nature was survival of the fittest. Even after hundreds of millions of years, the nature of the demons was still competitive. It was difficult to change. Plop! When Jean Yi's body fell to the ground and his head rolled to the side, the noisy Nine Phantom Mountain suddenly fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at the fat figure and the blood-stained ancient saber in his hand. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Jean, He was dead. The young lord of the northern frontier's #1 royal family, a peerless genius, was dead. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Gasps could be heard all around. Even the third elder of the Golden Condor clan felt a chill run down his spine when he saw the scene unfold before him. Then, he no longer cared about the dignity of the royal family and the glory of the Golden Condors. He ignited his blood energy and fled into the void. Nine Phantom Mountain withdrew her hand and stood tall in the sky. Her celestial face was cold. Her young master said that if this matter escalated, the third elder would definitely report to the Golden Condor clan. When that happened, Nine Phantom Mountain would become the center of attention. Although Nine Phantom Mountain still had some doubts, she did not feel a trace of fear due to her trust in Ling Xiao. Even if young master is using my life to plot against the world, so what? If it weren't for young master, I would still be a remnant soul. I don't know when I would be able to step into Xingzhou again. As long as young master can overthrow the holy church and avenge me, my life will belong to young master. Oomph. Who else? Who else? Poverty Xiao shouted coldly, his expression extremely domineering. His gaze swept across the demons one by one, but those who met his gaze all unconsciously turned their heads to look elsewhere. To be honest, Jin Yi's death was beyond everyone's expectations. However, they were only here to investigate the situation of Nine Phantom Mountain. They had no intention of risking their lives. Since this young man dared to kill the young lord of the Golden Condor clan, why would he care about others? As the saying goes, the strong fear the weak. Moreover, there were several Nine Phantom Mountain God emperors standing at the edge of the square. After today, this force would disappear completely from the Golden Condor clan's revenge. But I'll have to live past today to see it. Clap, clap, clap. However, just as Poverty Xiao was immersed in the joy of showing off, a round of applause came from a void. Chapter 840. Who is it? A commotion suddenly broke out in the quiet 9th Underworld Mountain. All the demons raised their heads to look, only to see a figure gradually appear under the bright sun in the blue dome of heaven. His white robes were fluttering in the wind, and he was spotless. His spiritual aura turned into a strange phenomenon, and he seemed to be peerless. However, the surprising thing was that the white-robed young man had 2 horns on his forehead, which instantly made him look more ferocious and domineering. Behind him, ancient and powerful auras followed. They were all dressed in golden robes, and their expressions were cold and indifferent. Thousand Demon Sacred Mountain. It's the Thousand Demon Sacred Mountain. Some of the powerful demons started to exclaim. The fear on their faces dissipated instantly, and it turned into mockery. Especially at this moment, the gazes that everyone looked at Poverty Xiao faintly carried a trace of ridicule. Who asked you to act tough? Why did you stop shouting when he was here? Thousand Demon Sacred Mountain. Xiaopo's fat face trembled. He silently kept his ancient sword and bowed slightly to 9th Underworld. King Yu, Jin, he has been killed. Then, he calmly walked back to the front of the main hall. He crossed his arms in front of him and stood there quietly. It was as if his actions just now were completely under 9th Underworld's command. Hearing this, not only was Nine Nether stunned, even the faces of the other beasts flickered with astonishment. This fatty is too shameless, isn't he? When he was acting tough just now, he was unconvinced. Now that he was done acting tough, he threw the blame aside and pretended that it had nothing to do with him. King Yu. That's right. Ao Qing stood in the sky with his hands behind his back. He looked at 9th Underworld playfully, then at the thousands of demons. Finally, his gaze landed on Hua Hua, who was standing in front of the main hall. At this moment, he did not sense any demonic aura from this young girl, but he felt an inexplicable sense of fear. He had never felt such a feeling from the Blue Dragon Emperor. Only Long Xian had ever given him such a feeling. No wonder the King Yu was so arrogant. It turned out that such a peerless demon was standing behind him. In Ao Qing's opinion, it was impossible for a demon race with such a bloodline to be unknown. However, this young girl did not look more than 20 years old, so there was nothing to worry about. In the end, the northern border was still Long Xian's world. "Who are you?" Nine Nether's figure descended from the sky, standing in front of Xiao Chan and the rest. At this moment, she also felt a trace of pressure from the expert behind the young man. It was obvious that some of the 10,000 monster sacred mountain emperor gods had already reached the 8th level. Given Nine Nether's strength, under the premise of exposing his demon body, he was able to fight against a 7th grade person. However, against a rank 8, he would lose without a doubt. Moreover, unlike the Golden Condors, Fangxing Mountain was the true overlord of the northern frontier. "I'm Ao Qing. I'm here to invite Miss Bai Jishi to the Holy Mountain as a guest under the orders of the Holy Ancestor." Ao Qing bowed slightly toward Nine Nether. He didn't care whether the northern frontier was in chaos or not. What he needed to do now was to help Long Xian reach the peak as soon as possible so that he could conquer the world. The death of the young master of the Golden Condor clan had nothing to do with him. As long as Nine Nether was obedient, perhaps the venerable ancestor would help her shoulder the burden. Looking for Jishi, Nine Nether's beautiful eyes narrowed as she muttered to herself. It was said that the 3 demon emperors of the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain all wanted to take Bai Jishi as a disciple. But who was the divine ancestor? Jishi is not on Nine Nether Mountain. Not on Nine Nether Mountain? King you better know how to appreciate favors. Someone the divine ancestor wants cannot escape, even if they have wings. Ao Qing narrowed his eyes and looked coldly at Nine Nether. If Bai Jishi was not on Nine Nether Mountain, Long Xian would not have sent him to capture her. Interesting. A 5th grade divine emperor dared to go against his will? Ao Qing's personality had unknowingly changed along with Long Xian's. When he first came to the northern frontier, he was still a cautious person. He came to the demon border to find the Azure Dragon Emperor and become her disciple so that he could use the demon race's power to fight against Ziyan. However, a few months ago, after going through many difficulties, he was summoned by the Azure Dragon Emperor. When he arrived at the foot of the 10,000 Demons Mountain, he coincidentally saw Long Xian being born. Attracted by her bloodline and beauty, he became the demon race's divine ancestor's follower. Even now, Ao Qing did not know why Long Xian, who was not a dragon, had such a terrifying true dragon aura. However, who cared? As long as he could gain the divine ancestor's favor, the sea region could be his. Can't escape? Nine Nether frowned slightly. She could hear some domineering hostility in the youth's words. It was obvious that the divine ancestor invited Bai Jishi to the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain not to drink tea and chat. Suddenly, Nine Nether seemed to remember something. A few months ago, there was a golden light that stretched for 30,000 miles on the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain. It covered the sky as if a treasure had appeared. However, under the cover of the golden radiance, many great demons with top-tier cultivation bases were still able to acutely sense a faint trace of devilish intent. Although the Azure Dragon Emperor personally came out to refute the rumors, saying that the phenomenon was caused by his cultivation, such words were not convincing. However, no matter what treasure appeared, since it was on the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain, no one would dare to go up the mountain to snatch it even if they had 10,000 guts. Could this matter be related to the divine ancestor that the youth spoke of? Jishi is indeed not on the mountain. Moreover, if you want to take her away from my Nine Nether Mountain, you need Ancestor Qing Qiu's approval. Nine Nether's tone was indifferent, but there was a hint of dominance that did not allow for discussion. Although Bai Jishi was mischievous, her nature was not bad. Moreover, she was the young master's sister. No matter who the divine ancestor was, Nine Nether would not let her take any risks. "Oh, are you disobeying me?" Ao Qing suddenly grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. However, at this moment, his gaze turned toward Huahua. The latter stepped forward and stood beside Nine Nether. She raised her head and looked at him with a cold expression. "A lowly flood dragon dares to be fierce in front of me." After saying that, a wisp of demonic aura circulated around Huahua. An ancient and heavy aura seemed to have awakened from ancient times and enveloped the entire hall. Who are you? Ao Qing's expression changed. The fear in his heart grew stronger. The bloodline suppression between the same race was already stronger. Even though Huahua's cultivation level was lower than his, the Nine Heavens' sacred aura still made Ao Qing's legs go weak. He almost knelt on the ground. Even if the young master had not said that she was not allowed to reveal her true form, Hoa would have already transformed into the sky-devouring demonic body and crushed this little dragon to the ground. Elder Shi too. Kill her. Ao Qing gritted his teeth. The mockery in the eyes of Huahua and the others made this young master of the Flood Dragon tribe even more furious. Yes, behind him, a burly old man with golden hair and demonic aura around him stepped forward and looked down at Nine Nether and the others. In the next instant, a boundless demonic radiance bloomed in the sky. An 8th-grade divine emperor aura smashed down. It directly shattered the void and destroyed the sacred aura, enveloping Huahua and the others. Be careful. Nine Nether's expression froze. She pulled Huahua behind her. Black flames rose around her, turning into a 100-meter-long demonic shadow that shot into the sky. Chapter 841. Boom! Nine Nether's body trembled violently as the boundless divine power collided. She took a few steps back before stabilizing herself. On the other hand, Shirtu's golden hair fluttered even though there was no wind. Although his expression was extremely calm, it was obvious that the pressure he was under was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Kill! Ao Qing waved his hand lightly. Behind him, several Emperor gods stepped forward and appeared beside Shir Tuesday. The Thousand Monsters Sacred Mountain was the force with the longest history in the northern border. There were many experts in the mountain, and their methods were even more astonishing. Moreover, these monsters were not good at the power of Tao laws. What they cultivated were innate magical powers and physical strength. Therefore, not many people were targeted by the divine masters over the years. Monsters had extremely long lifespans. As long as they did not die, they could inherit the power of heaven and earth and cultivate supreme opportunities. Therefore, compared to any other sect in the Shenzhou continent, the number of experts in the Saint Mountain was clearly greater. However, just as the 5 monsters from the Thousand Monster Mountain were about to pounce on Nine Nether and the others, the void in front of the main hall suddenly trembled. A petite figure suddenly appeared, and there was a hint of annoyance and coldness on her beautiful face. Stop it, Jishi! Nine Nether's expression froze, and there was a flash of excitement between her brows. She had already heard from her subordinates that Bai Jishi had gone to welcome the young master after hearing about him. So, the young master had arrived? You are Bai Jishi? Ao Qing suddenly stretched out his hand and stopped the 5 emperors in their tracks. After that, he looked at the petite yet peerlessly beautiful figure with special interest. That's right. Who are you? Uncle Shi too, what are you doing? Bai Jishi blinked her innocent pink eyes and frowned at Shi too, who was at the front of the group of monsters. Jishi, be obedient and follow me to the sacred mountain. Perhaps you can save the Nine Nether Mountain. Otherwise, Shirtu's eyes narrowed. He wanted to say something, but stopped. Although Bai Jishi did not become the disciple of the 3 emperors, this girl comprehended the Space Tao law, which was the strongest talent of the monster clan. Therefore, when she was very young, she often used the Tao law to travel to various places in the northern border. There was no one in the northern frontier who didn't know this adorable girl. That was why she had such a fearless personality. However, even though the northern border looked calm and tranquil, the sky had already changed. The demon race's divine ancestor, who had appeared out of nowhere, actually possessed a divine bone. Although her cultivation realm had yet to reach the pinnacle of the world, the divinity within the divine bone could be said to be supreme. Moreover, the divine ancestor was extremely talented and had the support of the 5 Daos. In less than 100 years, he would definitely be able to reach the peak of the Shenzhou continent. At that time, the demon race might be able to see the light of day again. Bai Jishi's talent was strong, but it was not strong enough to lead the monster clan to a renaissance. As for Floey, although she had the bloodline of a true dragon, her cultivation was still weak and was far from being able to suppress all enemies with her aura. Hey, I thought it was something big. Isn't it just going to the sacred mountain? It just so happens that I haven't seen the three old ancestors for a long time. I'll go now. Baiji, she giggled and turned to look at Nine Nether. She said in an old and experienced tone, Nine Nether, when a young master arrives later, remember to treat him well. That's right. Baiji did not wait for Ling Xiao at all. She had heard that something had happened at Nine Nether Mountain, so she hurried back. In the northern wilderness, who would dare to not give Baiji face? The three demon emperors are all my old ancestors. When I was young, I would often pluck their beards while they were sleeping. Originally, Baiji thought that it was the Golden Condor clan or the Blue Wolf clan who were causing trouble. She did not expect it to be the 1,000-demon Sacred Mountain. Huh, whose body is that on the ground? Jean E. Baiji's pink eyes flashed with surprise. She immediately glared at Nine Nether and said in a hateful tone, You only know how to cause trouble for me. Oomph. It seemed that she had no choice but to go to the Sacred Mountain. Nine Nether came from outside and did not know the background of the Golden Condor clan. This demon race is a royal race that is even more terrifying than my Qingqiu kingdom. However, it doesn't matter. I will say that I killed him. With the protection of the three demon emperors, what can that idiot do to me? Jishi, you can't go. Nine Nether shook her head slightly and grabbed by Jishi's jade-like hand, afraid that she would use the law of Tao to escape. She was also puzzled. With Baijishi's status in the northern border, who would dare to make a move on her? However, it was obvious that this group of 1,000 Demon Mountain experts did not come with good intentions, especially that young man in white. His tone was rude and domineering. If Baijishi left with them, her fate would be extremely miserable. Although the Blue Dragon Emperor enjoyed the worship of thousands of demons, only Nine Nether knew that in order to compete for the position of the Demon Emperor of the northern border, this old dragon had slaughtered many demons. Of course, for those who stood tall in the sky, how many of them did not bear an endless blood debt? However, such a person's heart was always dirty. Nine Nether, Baijishi's eyes flashed with confusion. Before she could speak again, Ao Qing suddenly sneered in the sky. Since you have appeared, what are you waiting for? Capture her. Capture? Baijishi was stunned. She raised her head and looked at the young man above her. Her tone suddenly became cold. Who do you think you are? How dare you capture me? At this moment, she was confused. If the three old ancestors missed her, why would they send experts to capture her? What was going on? She was very uneasy. Young Master Ao Qing, Jishi, Shirtu pondered for a moment and suddenly smiled bitterly. Don't you understand what I'm saying? Baijishi is the person that the Divine Ancestor wants. If you make the Divine Ancestor angry, you know the consequences. Ao Qing snorted coldly. Seeing the gloominess in Shirtu's eyes, he softened his tone and sighed softly. Elder Shir, you're an old member of the 10,000 Monsters Sacred Mountain. You should know that everything the Divine Ancestor has done is for the greater good of the monster race. Do you really want to be kept here and have your children and grandchildren be slaves of the human race for generations to come? Shirtu gritted his teeth and finally nodded. The last trace of struggle in his eyes disappeared completely and turned into a cold expression. King Yu, you'd better mind your own business. Otherwise, I will wash the Nine Nether Mountain with blood today. With that, Shirtu took a step forward. Like a divine mountain descending, he instantly crushed the blue sky and stood above Nine Nether and the others. Thousands of forces fell from the sky. Even Nine Nether's face turned pale. Behind her, Xiao Pa and Hua Hua looked at each other. Then, they took out the talisman in their hands and said softly, Young Master, there are experts from the 1,000-demon Sacred Mountain who want to kill Miss Nine Nether. Oh, I know. After a moment, a low and indifferent voice came from the other side of the talisman. Hearing this voice, the nervousness in both Nine Nether and Xiao Po's eyes disappeared instantly, especially Xiao Po, whose face was filled with a shocking battle intent. Damn, It's time for me to show off again. Although I can't defeat him, I must let the young master see me giving my all to protect his woman. Chapter 842. North Border, thousands of miles in the void. Demonic chi suddenly filled the sky, and Tao patterns appeared. The blue sky turned dark, and the sun sank. A golden carriage with 9 dragons emitted endless divine light. Under the cover of the demonic clouds, it sped toward the 9 Phantom Mountain. Young master, why are we waiting here for 7 days? In Ling Zhao's arms, Ziyan's golden eyes flashed with confusion. With everyone's speed, they had already arrived here 7 days ago. However, Ling Xiao was not in a hurry to appear. Instead, he stood in the sky, drinking wine and admiring the sun. Of course, in these 7 days, the layered shadow had sent back countless pieces of information. Ling Xiao already had a rough understanding of the current situation in the North Border. That's right, Ling Xiao was not in a hurry to descend on the North Border because it was the most dangerous place in the 4 borders. The demon race was already strong. If not for the heavenly Tao restraining them, they would not have been suppressed by the Saint sect. Even so, there were still countless powerful demon race occupying the North Border, especially the 1,000 Demon Sacred Ground, which was the true ruler of the North Border. It was said that the green dragon had already cultivated dragon scales. In order to get rid of the second divine envoy, Ling Xiao first had to do not find his tracks. Instead, he had to completely mess up the situation in the North Border. Needless to say, the West Border had been conquered by hundreds of dynasties for many years. Even the East and South Border, there were demons causing trouble and becoming enemies with the human race. Only the North Border had 3 demon emperors. No one dared to cause trouble. However, the situation was too stable. How could he fish in troubled waters? Furthermore, although Ling Xiao did not know what kind of agreement the Divine Master and the Blue Dragon Emperor had reached, it was nothing more than a discussion of benefits. Because of this, the demon race and the Saint sect could not possibly be united against a common enemy. As for him, he only needed to use a few tricks to completely enrage the North Border that had been suppressed by the human race for hundreds of years. Demons were bloodthirsty and ate humans. Once a human race massacred living beings in the North Border, do you think the demon emperors would sit by and do nothing? As for how to lure the second divine envoy into the trap, haha, don't forget that I, Ling Xiao, have another identity. I am the saint of the Saint sect. At that time, no matter who died or who was injured in the end, it would have nothing to do with Ling Xiao. Everything was under control. Only the phenomenon of the Wanyao Mountain that Stack's shadow spoke of made Ling Xiao interested. If it wasn't a supreme treasure, then it was fate. Interesting. You only need to stay by my side obediently. Don't interfere with anything else, understand? Ling Xiao lowered his head and glanced at Ziyan with a chilly gaze, causing the latter's delicate figure to instantly tremble. She nestled in Ling Xiao's embrace and let out an aggrieved meow. Black clouds suddenly appeared in the northern region, and killing intent rose in all directions. Ling Xiao and the others finally stopped hesitating and headed straight for the 9 Nether Mountain. At the same time, at the peak of the 9 Underworlds Mountain, tens of thousands of feet of demonic radiance bloomed, and Tao laws collided. The blue sky shattered, and the bright sun lost its light. Only the terrifying demonic silhouettes stood tall between heaven and earth, intimidating the world. King Yu, since you are so stubborn, don't blame me for being merciless. Above the void, the silhouette of a golden lion roared at the sky. Its golden eyes were like gold, emitting a bloodthirsty ruthlessness. Then, he threw out a punch, which instantly pierced through the void and landed on 9 Nether's head. This punch seemed ordinary, but it contained a great amount of blood energy. The entire 9 Nether Mountain instantly let out a shattering sound. Even 9 Nether's eyes revealed a tinge of despair. She took a deep breath, and a wisp of purple-black flames started to rise from the bottom of her feet. In a short instant, It turned into a towering pillar of flames that faced the fist. Boom! A terrifying power instantly exploded. Thousands of demonic beasts on the 9 Nether Mountain roared and turned around to escape. However, at this moment, a formation suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. It connected to form a net that invisibly enveloped the entire mountain. At this moment, under the attack of an 8th-grade divine emperor, 9 Nether's delicate body suddenly trembled violently. Even the flames outside her body were extinguished in a breath's time. Then, she looked up at the sky and looked at the terrifying fish shadow that was like a falling star. Her eyes were calm, and the corners of her mouth even curled up into a smile. If young master wanted her to die, then she must have a reason to die. However, we have not seen each other for almost 2 years. Young master, 9 Nether really wants to see you before I die. Buzz! The ear-piercing sound of a saber suddenly resounded between heaven and earth. Extreme fear suddenly appeared in the eyes of the demonic beasts that were originally escaping. At this moment, they seemed to have seen the void within 10,000 miles suddenly split neatly into 2 halves. Only a wisp of dark light tore through the clouds, as if the abyss of the 9 heavens had descended to the mortal realm. Chi! In just a moment, the dark light fell and flashed through the golden light. The fist that the lion butcher had thrown out with his blood energy suddenly shattered, turning into flowing light that filled the sky and dissipating without a trace. Heaven and earth were silent, and all sounds disappeared. Everyone was dumbstruck as they stared at the black light that disappeared in the blink of an eye and swallowed their saliva. Above the void, the lion butcher also looked at the shattered golden light and blood energy with a shocked expression, and he did not speak for a long time. At a certain moment, he seemed to have sensed something, and he suddenly looked up at the sky. There he saw a 9 dragons golden carriage breaking through the sky and towering in the sky. On the golden carriage, a peerlessly beautiful young man in black clothes was holding a snow by Ling Cat in his arms, and he was looking down at the demonic beasts with a calm gaze. It was a young man with a celestial aura, gentle and refined, and he was as handsome as jade. He sat in the carriage, and although he did not emit a trace of aura, heaven and earth seemed to submit to him. What audacity! You even dare to injure my maidservant! Ling Xiao lowered his eyes and looked at the shocked lion butcher. An 8th-grade divine emperor was the strongest here. However, an 8th-grade divine emperor was no longer in his eyes. Whether it was Xiong Huan or Ziyin, they could easily kill him. However, the young man behind the golden lion made the corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curl up into a smile. A 7th-grade divine king with 4,000 luck points. He did not have a spiritual body, nor did he have any Tao laws. However, there was an extremely mysterious aura around him. Flood dragon human. In Ling Xiao's arms, Ziyin suddenly exclaimed. However, in the next instant, she looked at the young man with some fear and quickly shut her mouth, not daring to make any noise. She knew that Ling Xiao did not ask her to reveal her strength because he wanted to save it for the final moment and use it as a trump card. Once she disrupted Ling Xiao's plan, given the latter's temper, she did not know how he would deal with her. Humph, what can I do? He has already planted a soul mark on me, and he can do whatever he wants to me. Meow. Flood dragon human race? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly, and his eyes became more and more playful. He did not expect to meet one so soon. However, this young man was obviously not much older than Xian Xian and the others. However, his cultivation realm was somewhat terrifying. Of course, this kind of terror was only for ordinary young geniuses. In Ling Xiao's eyes, this young man was still an ant that he could casually crush. However, he did not know what kind of secret was hidden in this ant. Interesting. A person of destiny indeed has a miserable life. Although this young master of the flood dragon human race was born noble, I just came out to train, and when I turned around, my race was gone, and my entire clan was slaughtered. Don't you think it's miserable? Damn. Chapter 843. The Aura of Reincarnation. Just as Ling Xiao was pondering, Liang Yi, who was beside him, suddenly looked surprised. He turned to Ling Xiao and said, "My lord, it's the aura of reincarnation." The aura of reincarnation? No wonder. Ling Xiao nodded and walked toward Nine Nether and the others. Under his feet, a green lotus of the Great Way appeared out of nowhere. Thousands of divine lights turned into a vision. It was as if a real immortal had descended. Even the eyes of Ao Qing and the others flickered with a wisp of shock and terror at this moment, and they inexplicably felt a trace of coldness arise from the bottom of their hearts. Immortal aura and divine power. What a peerless young master. My lord, young master. Nine Nether and Bai Zhishi's faces lit up. Even Xiao Ping wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and bowed to Ling Xiao solemnly. My lord, fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows and threw a cosmos bag to Xiao Ping. You've worked hard, even though he knew that with Poverty Zhao's character, he was most likely faking it. However, did I give him the elixir because he was willing to risk his life? Of course not. I just liked his humble and fawning attitude. Young master, I missed you so much. Why are you only here now? I've been waiting for you on Green Mist Mountain for a whole day. Bai Zhishi pouted her little mouth, and Nine Nether also bowed deeply. Her pretty face was filled with excitement, and her eyes were misty. Seeing this, Zian's golden eyes flashed with surprise. She had many doubts in her heart. Why was this young man so cruel and heartless? But the girls around him were so in love with him. Also, with Mrs. Cold temperament, how could she tolerate these girls around him? Of course, she was just a spiritual pet. She didn't dare to say anything. She could only watch as the petite figure flew over and hung in Ling Zhao's arms. She, the dignified Ocean Emperor, a ninth-grade divine emperor, was almost pressed out of shape. Young master, Zhishi missed you so much. The peak of the Nine Nether Mountain was silent. All the demon clan experts and young lords stared at the scene in front of them with their mouths agape. Other than shock, there was only endless jealousy. F***CK. What did I just see? The Spectral King, the one who dared to kill the Golden Condor tribe's elder and young lord, was actually bowing his head to a young human and looking forward to meeting him. Also, Bai Zhishi, the ninth princess of Qingxiu, the peerless genius chosen by the three demon emperors, was also throwing herself into the arms of the human youth. What was even more infuriating was that there wasn't a trace of joy on the young man's face. F***CK. This was an expert. This was an expert. Human, who are you? Ao Qing's expression was solemn and even a little frightened. Given King Yu's strength, although he was still a distance away from the three great demonic emperors, he already had the potential to become a demonic emperor. In the short span of a year, he had appeared out of nowhere, killed a sixth-grade divine emperor, and was able to contend with an eighth-grade great emperor. One had to admit that this Ghost King really had some tricks up his sleeve. However, such a cold and terrifying demon king actually bowed down to a human youth. It was hard to imagine the identity of the young man in front of him. In the entire Shenzhou, although the human race was now the ruler of the Shenzhou in terms of background and talent, only the mysterious holy son of the holy sect had such power. Other than him, Ao Qing could not think of anyone else who could be so famous in the northern frontier. Who I am is not important. What's important is that you dared to hurt my maidservant. Today, you'll have to give me an explanation. Ling Xiao patted Bai Zhishi's shoulder lightly, indicating for her to calm down. Then, he looked at Ao Qing calmly. Flood Dragon Tribe? Uft. I killed your ancestor, and a young lord dares to act so arrogantly in front of me? Give you an explanation? This is the northern frontier. Our demon race's divine ancestor has ordered us to bring Bai Zhishi back to the thousand-demon sacred mountain. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy. Although Ao Qing's words were rude, he was already panicking. The young man's attack just now was able to shatter Shirtu's attack. With such combat strength, even a god emperor would not be able to withstand it, let alone him. Kill without mercy. Ling Xiao nodded calmly, his eyes calm. Then kill without mercy. Boom! Suddenly, there was a vast demonic aura in the void. One by one, silhouettes stepped into the sky and appeared in the horizon. In particular, the tall figure in armor at the front was as majestic as a mountain. He stood there, covering the blue sky and dimming the sun. All the light in the world was annihilated, leaving behind a wisp of indestructible, domineering aura. That's right, Xionghuan had rushed over from the sea area in 7 days. The Bloodshark tribe was originally the royal tribe of the sea area, second only to the Flood Dragon tribe. With the help of Gu Zhen and Xionghuan, this royal tribe swept the sea area and became supreme in just 7 days. Gulp. Ao Qing's expression changed, and he instinctively felt a wave of fear. In front of him, Shirtu's eyes were also flickering with shock. He looked up at Xionghuan and the sea of demonic light behind him, only to feel a chill rising from the soles of his feet. Boom! However, at this time, Xionghuan did not say anything more. He stepped forward and punched. The void collapsed. Although the punch seemed casual, the domineering aura contained in it made the world lose its color and the universe turn upside down. Shirtu's expression changed drastically, and he gritted his teeth. Demonic light bloomed around him, and he turned into a golden lion shadow. It was 100 feet tall, and it roared as it rushed toward the fist print. At this time, Xionghuan's figure was extremely small in front of the demonic shadow, but there was no change in his expression. Under the fist print, there were thousands of demonic auras intertwined and lingering. It was like a millstone that could destroy the world, grinding away time and making everything cease to exist. Boom! The moment the two collided, the entire ninth underworld mountain immediately set off endless ripples. However, the ferocious golden lion couldn't even last for a single breath of time before it shattered into pieces when the fist landed. Xionghuan's figure did not stop for a moment. He stepped through the sky, descended from the sky, and landed on Shirtu's body. Roar! At the moment of life and death, the 8th grade divine emperor of the 1,000 demons, Sacred Mountain, revealed his true form and roared into the sky. Around him, demonic light was dazzling like the sun, emitting a terrifying golden light. Puffed. Even so, when Xionghuan's fist print landed on his head, Shirtu's eyes were filled with despair. Thousands of demonic light soared into the sky, suppressing heaven and earth. Like rain, a curtain of blood fell from the sky. Then, everyone's hearts trembled as they saw Shirtu's body explode into a mist of blood. It floated in the air and disappeared without a trace. Gulp! Heaven and earth were silent. Only the sound of people swallowing their saliva could be heard on the mountain peak. What did I just see? An 8th grade divine emperor was killed by a single punch just like that. Ao Qing's body trembled violently, and his body turned cold. At this time, he did not dare to move at all. Even the divine emperors of the 1,000 demons mountain stood in the void at a loss. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao with curiosity and doubt in their eyes. But there was also a trace of fear. Beep. The destined child's Taoist heart is unstable. Congratulations to the host for plundering 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. Hearing the notification, Ling Xiao did not look happy at all. Instead, he looked slightly disappointed. At this time, he realized that although there were many geniuses in the Northern Territory, not many of them had luck. What was going on? Chapter 844. According to the number of heavenly wills that Ling Xiao had seen before, a territory would have at least a few people with providence. Although Ling Xiao did not know why there were so many heavenly wills in the Shengzhou land, it was obvious that there was a shocking secret hidden within. However, the people on the 9 Underworld Mountain were all young masters and royal prodigies, but the only one with providence was the Flood Dragon person from the southern border. Was this reasonable? On second thought, Ling Xiao thought of a possibility. Tens of thousands of demons in the northern border had submitted, and the situation there was stable. Once a heavenly will was born, it would be expected by everyone. It was very likely that the person would have great providence and would be invincible from the start. Divine ancestor? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows and recalled the information that the stacked shadow had sent back. It said that a few months ago, the 10,000 demon sacred mountain suddenly shone with divine light. The name of the divine ancestor had never been spread in the northern border. Could it be that the heavenly will had descended? With that thought, Ling Xiao silently put away the luck-plundering talisman and turned to look at the demons on the mountaintop. Since he wanted to start a war between the sacred sect and the three demon emperors, he had to create an irreconcilable conflict between the two sides. Although, given Ling Xiao's intelligence, he could easily guess that there was something fishy about the Azure Dragon Emperor submitting to the Holy Church back then. However, the Azure Dragon Emperor was the Azure Dragon Emperor. Although he was in charge of the northern border, he could not represent the wishes of all the races. Who exactly are you? You killed an elder of the 10,000 Demon Mountain. Ao Qing originally wanted to say a few threatening words to intimidate Ling Xiao. However, when the words reached his mouth, he felt powerless. This young man's maidservant had killed the young master of the Golden Condor clan, and he had ordered Shi Tu to be killed. No matter how he looked at it, he did not look like someone who could be intimidated with just a few words. If he said more now, he would only end up worse. 10,000 Demon Mountain? The entire demon race is a beast raised by the sacred sect. I can kill whoever I want. What can the 10,000 Demon Mountain do? Ling Xiao shook his head and chuckled. He looked up at Ao Qing, who was standing in the air. Sacred sect. A look of realization instantly appeared on all the demons' faces. That's right. In the entire Shengzhou, other than the saint, who dared to be so unscrupulous? Who else dared to disregard the majesty of the demon emperor? Wait a minute. Saint sect. Flaming Phoenix tribe. All of a sudden, a demon seemed to have thought of something. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked at the Ghost King. That black flame, that demonic might. In the northern border, aside from the Dark Phoenix clan that was once as famous as the Blue Dragon Emperor, who else could possess such might? No wonder this woman could become a demon king in just a year. As it turned out, she was actually a member of the long-lost Dark Phoenix clan. Behind her stood the master of the Shengzhou continent, the sacred sect. In an instant, Ling Xiao's identity became clear. Judging by his age, he was most likely the holy son of the saint, who had never appeared in the world but was famous for his prowess. Saint sect. Ao Qing's eyes widened as a chill suddenly appeared in his heart. The sacred ancestor was indeed very strong. His talent was heaven-defying, and he was one of a kind. However, her cultivation level was still at the first level of the God Emperor realm. Whether she would be able to break through her shackles and lead the demon race back to the peak was still unknown. But now, the sacred sect represented the sacred might of heaven and earth, and was worshipped by thousands of races, especially the divine master of the sacred sect, who was the only venerable realm cultivator in this world. He did not need to worry about anyone if he wanted to kill someone. But, holy son of the sacred sect, aren't you being a little too overbearing? So, you are from the sacred sect. Fine, we are only here on orders. Since you're a young master servant, we have been rude. In the end, Ao Qing gritted his teeth and bowed to Ling Xiao. In that case, we will return to the 10,000 Demons Sacred Mountain. According to Ao Qing's thoughts, the holy son of the sacred sect did have a high status, but this was the northern border after all. Just now, he had forcefully suppressed and killed Shi Tu to deter the demons and protect the dignity of the sacred sect. But once he acted too overboard, he would also attract many disasters. Since he was given a way out, he should take advantage of the situation and eliminate this unnecessary conflict. Did I say you can leave? You hurt my servant and bullied my shear. If I let you leave, wouldn't I lose face? Ling Xiao smiled warmly, his eyes deep and profound. Hearing this, Nine Nether and Bai Jishi's faces flashed with excitement. This was especially true for the latter, whose face was flushed red. It's a very intimate name. Young master must be sincere to me. Otherwise, why would he become enemies with the 10,000 Demons Mountain and kill Shi Tu and the others? although Bai Jishi also had some doubts about when young master became a member of the sacred sect. But what does it matter? I love young master, not young master's identity. Not to mention that he is a member of the sacred sect, even if he is the reincarnation of the sky demon. So what? Beep. The destined girl has completely surrendered. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1,000 luck points and 10,000 villain points. Beep. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an additional reward. Destiny Forging Points 2%. Beep. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an additional reward. 8th grade Divine Spiritual Pill. Beep. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an additional reward. Scapegoat Puppet. Hearing a series of system notifications in his mind, Ling Zhao's eyes trembled slightly, and he turned to look at Bai Jishi. Sure enough, after a year of yearning and waiting, this little princess of the nine-tailed tribe had long since fallen in love with him. Now, he only needed to show a trace of love to make her completely fall in love with him. What do you mean, young master? A.O. Ching was stunned, and his eyes were clearly filled with a trace of astonishment. No, you've already killed her and shown off. Are you still not satisfied? Do you really intend to start a war between the sacred sect and the Beijiang demon race? Although the divine master was in the venerate realm, there were many powerful cultivators in the Beijiang demon race. Once they fought to the death, the sacred sect would definitely suffer heavy losses. At that time, if the other three borders took the opportunity to cause trouble, the sacred sect would truly be doomed. This was the reason why the divine master did not use force to intimidate the Beijiang demon race. Kill them all. Otherwise, how will the sacred sect intimidate the four borders in the future? Ling Xiao looked deeply at A.O. Ching, then carried Z into the hall behind him. Oh, capture that A.O. Ching alive and let a few insignificant trash go. However, just as he was about to step into the hall, he suddenly stopped and turned to the crowd. Yes, Xiong Huan and Liang Yi bowed, while Nine Nether, Bai Jishi, and Hua followed Ling Xiao into the hall. The remaining 9 Nether Mountain God Emperors looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Kill them all? Those who had come to the 9 Nether Mountain today were all famous geniuses of the Beijiang demon race and elders of various races. Once they all died on the 9 Nether Mountain, the 9 Nether Mountain would truly become the target of public criticism in the future. F***CK. Why do I suddenly feel like betraying them? But if I betrayed them now, wouldn't I also be killed? Chapter 845. Boom. At the peak of 9 Nether Mountain, divine light shot out and demonic aura covered the sky. There were giant claws tearing the sky and divine pillars piercing the clouds. It was indescribably terrifying and magnificent. However, regardless of whether it was the demon clan's prodigies or the various elders, they were all extremely weak in front of Xiong Huan, a 9th grade demon general. What's more, we didn't even prepare for battle today. Therefore, every time this heavenly demon war general descended, blood mist would appear between heaven and earth. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm useless. I have evidence. Countless demon clans experts died. Their blood splattered and dyed the entire square scarlet. Under the encirclement of Liang, Yi, and the 9 Nether Mountains Emperor gods, the demons retreated step by step. However, they could not step out of the mountain. They could only struggle and howl in pain. Damn, why did I lose my life just to watch the show? Sir, is this really okay? In the main hall, Bai Jishi's pretty face was pale. Just the screams outside the hall made her feel extremely terrified. These were the prodigies of the entire northern border. Although Sir did this to help her, this matter of cutting off someone's inheritance was an irreconcilable grudge. Is Sir really willing to become the enemy of the northern border for me? It was very sweet, but also very frantic. 9 Nether, have you recovered your memories? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He did not feel the slightest bit of fear because of the bloody aura outside the hall. He had already revealed his identity. It would not be long before the entire northern border was completely shaken. No matter what the relationship between the Blue Dragon Emperor and the Divine Master was, or what interests they had, it would not be up to him to decide. In other words, as a demon emperor, if he could not support all the demons, what was the point of being a demon emperor? Therefore, in a few days, the 9 Nether Mountain would be completely bustling. Not only would the 3 demon emperors of the 1,000 Demon Mountain come, but the second divine envoy who had already arrived at the northern border would also hear the news and come to verify Ling Xiao's identity. However, before that, Ling Xiao still needed to make some preparations. For example, recruiting a few demon soul slaves? Recovered. Sir. 9 Nether's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. She turned to look at Flower and by Jishi. I'll take you to meet someone. Jishi, come with me. Ling Xiao waved his hand and pulled 9 Nether and Hua Hua into his realm. However, he and Hua Hua didn't disappear. Come with me to do something. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. With Zi Yin in his arms, he walked out of the hall. At the same time, the whales on 9 Underworld's mountain gradually dissipated. Boundless blood chi spread out, turning into blood clouds that floated in the sky. Xiong Huan and Liang looked at each other in silence for a long time. In the end, the two of them looked at each other and smiled, but didn't say a word. Plop! Ling Xiao stood in front of the hall as he looked at the blue stone that was covered in blood and Ao Qing, who was held by the neck by Liang and thrown in front of Ling Xiao, with a gentle smile on the corners of his mouth. What's your name? At this moment, Ao Qing still had 3,500 fate left. Originally, Ling Xiao planned to use the fate-reaping talisman to kill this person directly. However, when he thought that the demon race's divine ancestor might be a person with great fate, Ling Xiao decided to wait a little longer. Even if you are the saint of the sacred sect, you will receive retribution for doing such a cruel thing sooner or later. Ao Qing gritted his teeth as blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. In between his eyebrows, a golden scale flickered with a dazzling light, with a mysterious fluctuation. Retribution. Ling Xiao walked to Ao Qing's side and looked down at the mark between his eyebrows. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed it, then tore it off. Pucci, blood spurted out instantly. However, before the viciousness on Ao Qing's face disappeared, it completely turned into a twisted expression of horror. Ao Qing's painful scream echoed for hundreds of miles. He held his forehead with both hands, curled up on the ground, and kept rolling around. Blood flowed out from between his fingers, and his cultivation was rapidly declining at a speed visible to the naked eye. It is indeed because of this mark. Ling Xiao looked at the golden scale in his palm and frowned slightly. He could feel a trace of mysterious samsara aura from this mark. It was obvious that this mark was a kind of inheritance or divine soul mark. It could allow one to awaken the memories or cultivation of one's previous life in the endless samsara. Liang, do you recognize this item? Ling Xiao raised his head and looked at the evil dragon general in front of him. This demon general had comprehended the Tao of samsara, so he was obviously very familiar with this kind of power. If I am not wrong, this mark should be the symbol of the divine abyss of samsara. Liang frowned slightly, and a strange light flashed in his empty eyes. Divine abyss of samsara? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly. This was the first time he had heard of this name. Such a setting should have an extremely terrifying background. After all, the power of samsara was the most terrifying and mysterious power in the entire 9 heavens and 10 lands. Once someone controlled samsara, they would truly control life and death, and control a power that transcended heaven and earth. That's right. Legend has it that the divine abyss of samsara is not in any territory. It is beyond the 6th Tao. In ancient times, there was a samsara master who was extremely close to being immortal. This divine abyss is where he cultivated. However, Liang suddenly laughed bitterly. It is said that this divine abyss has appeared before. However, no one who stepped into the divine abyss was able to walk out. Oh, Ling Xiao nodded slightly. It was obvious that even the samsara master had not truly controlled the power of samsara. He had only touched upon the true mystery of this power. However, it was easy for all living things to enter samsara, but difficult to jump out of samsara. However, how did this mark appear? My lord, I have seen this mark before. While everyone was silent, Xiaobo suddenly raised his hand and said softly, You have seen it before? Ling Xiao turned his head and looked at Xiaobo in surprise. That's right. There was once a force in the azure sky world called the Divine Palace of Samsara. The first Divine Palace of Samsara had an identical mark between his eyebrows. However, this force was too mysterious. I have only seen his portrait in the ancient books of my clan. Xiaobo's tone was solemn. It was rare for him to be so serious. Divine Palace of Samsara? Ling Xiao lowered his head and looked at Ao Qing, who was lying in a pool of blood. He asked coldly, Where did you get this mark? Give it back to me. Get it back to me. Ao Qing reached out his hand in despair. He wanted to grab Ling Xiao, but Xiaobo stepped on his head and he could not move. Behave yourself. My lord is asking you a question. If you don't answer, I will search you. All of you will die. I swear that I will kill all of you with my own hands. Ao Qing's eyes were filled with hatred, and his expression was extremely cold. It's okay if you don't say it. I will know. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He threw the mark of Samsara to Liang Yi and walked towards the distant mountain. Liang Yi, fuse with this item. See if you can break through the secrets of reincarnation and help you break free from the shackles of reincarnation. Thank you, my lord. Liang Yi's eyes trembled as he bowed deeply. However, just as Ling Xiao's figure was about to disappear, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at Ao Qing. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I just came from a southern border. I heard that your Flood Dragon clan was slaughtered. Oh, it's not a rumor. I did it. With that, Ling Xiao did not stay any longer. His figure instantly disappeared. No, impossible. I will kill you. Beep. The Child of Destiny's Tao heart has shattered. Congratulations to the host for plundering 1,000 luck points and 10,000 villain points. Chapter 846. Within the realm, Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back, looking down at the ancient forest that was filled with demonic aura. Beside him, Nine Nether and Bai Jishi both had a confused look on their faces. Neither of them had seen this realm before. However, even Nine Nether was shocked when she sensed the spiritual aura and Tao intent in the void. One day of cultivation in this immortal land was equivalent to months of cultivation in the outside world. Moreover, Nine Nether felt that the rules of time in this immortal land seemed to have been changed by someone. It seemed that the young master must have had many miraculous encounters in this year. But young master, why did you change your clothes in such a short time? I'll bring you to see someone. Ling Zhao's eyes were deep as he stepped into the ancient forest. Now, Meng Yuan's Tao heart had been shattered by Ling Xiao. However, this saintess of the Holy Church, Wei Guangjing, had no intention of submitting to him. Perhaps in Meng Yuan's heart, Ling Xiao was the same as the divine master who deceived her. They were both demons and deserved to die. Young master, the demonic aura in this forest. Why? Bai Jishi wanted to say something, but stopped, her pink eyes filled with confusion. How could she not feel that the demonic aura in this forest was the same as that of the Green Hill Fox clan? But she had never heard of anyone going missing in Green Hill. The same as yours? Ling Zhao's lips curled into a smile. He had long known that Meng Yuan's bloodline was related to the Green Hill Fox clan, but he could not be sure. Moreover, since Nine Nether had awakened her memories, it was time to let the saintess of the sacred sect see for herself how cruel the god she once believed in was. As the three of them landed, the demonic aura in the forest dissipated. Beside Gulin Shun, Meng Yuan opened her eyes. There was a trace of demonic aura in them. That's right. Ling Xiao had said that she could walk around here as she pleased. However, in the end, Meng Yuan did not leave. Or rather, she did not dare to leave. Suddenly, she realized that she had a special feeling for this place that ruined her innocence and went against her destiny. Heaven and earth were illusory. Only this place was the most real. There's actually a pretty big sister here. Bai Jishi blinked her pink eyes and looked up and down at Meng Yuan. However, the more she looked, the more serious and surprised her expression became. Especially the young girl in front of her, Her eyebrows were somewhat similar to hers. However, Meng Yuan's aura was clearly that of a human. So what was with the demonic aura in the forest? Who exactly are you? Her name is Meng Yuan, the saintess of the sacred sect. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, his eyes calm. Meng Yuan frowned as she stared at Bai Jishi. The bloodlines in their bodies came from the same source, so at such a close distance, they naturally felt a familiar bloodline power. The saintess of the saint, Nine Nether and Bai Zishi were stunned. Could it be? Young master, is Zishi? Have any of your Qingqiu clan members intermarried with humans and had children? Our clan has sealed the Qingqiu clan for 300 years, and no one has ever left the clan. Bai Zishi shook her head blankly. She knew that her elder sister had a child with a human, Yi Fan, who was killed by Ling Xiao. However, she had never heard that her elder sister had a daughter. Other than Bai Zhiro, no one in the Qingqiu clan had stepped out of the clan for 300 years, let alone intermarry with humans. This was the ancestral rule of the Qingqiu clan. No. Which divine master imprisoned your elder sister in the Qingqiu clan? Ling Xiao nodded calmly, not surprised at all. Although Meng Yuan looked young, she was actually a figure from 300 years ago. However, the divine master used the excuse of refining her divine body and sealed her for 200 years to suppress the demonic aura in her body. Now, by chance, Ling Xiao broke the seal with his demonic aura and exposed her true form. Which divine master? I don't know, but the current divine master often comes to visit my elder sister in the Qingqiu clan. Bai Jishi sucked on her finger, her pink eyes revealing a trace of surprise. Although her temperament was simple, she was smart and quickly understood the meaning of Ling Xiao's words. Sir, you can't be thinking that this elder sister is my elder sister and the divine master. Impossible, impossible. Ever since my elder sister was captured by my mother, she has been in the abyss of the Qingqiu clan and has never left. Before that, even the divine master didn't know her whereabouts. Bai Jishi shook her little head like a rattle drum, but Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a deep meaning. Ziyin had once said that before Yi Qinchan had fought with Zhou Yandao, she had already suffered extremely heavy injuries. It was also because of this that she died in the hands of Zhou Yandao, who had not truly stepped into the venerable realm. In the entire Xingzhou, how many people could hurt Yi Qinchan? Ling Xiao thought for a moment. It seemed that there was none. Therefore, the reason why she was injured was very likely because she was attacked by someone very close to or trusted. In other words, there was something wrong with the first princess of the Qingqiu clan. Given the divine master's nature, if Bai Zhiro betrayed him, how could he only suppress her? There must be some unspeakable secret between the two. Combined with Meng Yuan's identity and bloodline, Ling Xiao guessed that Meng Yuan was most likely the daughter of the divine master and Bai Zhiro. But whether Bai Zhiro was forced to give birth to this child or a love tribulation was not something that Ling Xiao could speculate. However, the answer would be revealed soon. Now that the divine master was in seclusion, he would not come out for a while. Moreover, the demon that stole from the Xingzhou continent was far too cautious. In order to prevent Dugi Yunjin and the other 3 divine emissaries from betraying him, he strictly ordered the 4 of them not to contact each other in private. The advantage of this was that once the 4 of them had the intention to betray him, they would definitely reveal it as soon as possible. This also strengthened Zhou Yindao's rule. But the disadvantage was obvious. He gave Ling Xiao the opportunity to defeat them one by one. Of course, even if Ling Xiao stood up and said that the divine master was a demon, not many people would believe it. Even if they believed it, they would not dare to use their mortal bodies to worship the divine master. So, from the beginning, Ling Xiao did not think of using such means to defeat the saint. This battle was a winner's king. It is said that the Qingqiu clan was sealed by the 9-tailed fox queen. Outsiders cannot enter. Zishi, can you do it? Ling Xiao gently nodded. He didn't argue with Bai Zishi and asked in a deep voice. Young master, are you going to the Qingqiu clan? But I haven't told mother about our relationship. So shameful to say. Hearing this, Bai Jishi's face turned red. Her jade hands rubbed the corner of her clothes. Her body swayed slightly, and she shyly lowered her head. Ling Xiao sighed softly and stretched out a finger to flick Bai Jishi's little head. "What are you thinking? I want to see your elder sister." "See my elder sister?" Bai Jishi's expression froze. Her little face undoubtedly became redder. "Oh." But at this time, she did not hide the disappointment in her eyes until Ling Xiao shook his head and smiled bitterly. "While you are at it, visit the nine-tailed fox queen. Be good. Young master, when my mother sees you, she will definitely, My Qingqiu clan's ancient rule is not to do that with the human race." Bai Jishi spoke halfway, and the excitement on her face froze again. She lowered her head and shook her foxtail. "So complicated." "Don't worry, I am not a human." Ling Xiao smiled indifferently, but the words he said made Bai Jishi even more confused. "Not a human." Chapter 847. All right, Nine Nether, tell me, what did you remember after your memory awakened? Today, Ling Xiao had brought the two women to Meng Yuan not only to reveal her identity, but also to let the saintess of the saints see the true hypocrisy of the Master God. A venerable had spent 200 years to seal the demonic aura in her body and handed over the authority of the Holy Church to her alone. Ling Xiao naturally did not believe that the Divine Master had no feelings for Meng Yuan. Therefore, this saintess would most likely become a means for Ling Xiao to control the Divine Master. "Your daughter is in my hands. Don't be impulsive." Of course, this was only a means. No one, especially a peerless hero like the Divine Master, would place feelings above life. It was impossible to use Meng Yuan's life to threaten him. However, if Meng Yuan took the initiative to submit, perhaps she could be placed as a spy in the situation. At the critical moment, she could be used to turn the situation around. "Young master." A trace of pain appeared on Nine Nether's face. She slowly closed her eyes and took a deep breath. After a long silence, she said coldly, "Back then, our race was gifted. Those with pure bloodlines could awaken their natal hellfire and comprehend the Fire Tao law. This kind of flame was no different from the heaven and earth spirit fire and was extremely powerful. When the Divine Master descended, he made some kind of agreement with the Blue Dragon Emperor to join forces and trap our race in the Holy Mountain. Then, the Divine Master used the bodies of our race's experts as a medium to devour our bloodlines and demon cores to aid his cultivation. What was even more outrageous was that there were many human experts who had comprehended the Tao law in the place where our race was trapped. Almost every day, there were people who died in the Divine Master's hands. Of course, if they were evil cultivators, it was understandable that they used this method to cultivate. However, the one who did all this was the Divine Master, who was worshipped by all the races in the Holy Continent. However, the people of the world were stupid and thought that our race was being led to the upper world. Therefore, more experts offered their bodies in vain for a chance to ascend. As she spoke, tears flowed down from Nine Nether's eyes. What was even more hateful was that the Divine Master ordered our race to give birth to the next generation every year and raise them like livestock for his cultivation. This kind of evil demon is unforgivable. Hearing this, Ling Xiao did not look surprised at all. Ever since he had guessed the Divine Master's identity, he had thought about the fate of those Tao Law experts. Raising living beings in captivity for one's own cultivation. Although this method was evil, it was the fastest path to the Tao. Furthermore, right now, what Ling Xiao was doing in secret was actually no different from what the Divine Master was doing. The biggest difference was that he was originally set as a villain. As long as it was destiny, it would eventually become his enemy. This was something that could not be changed. If I don't kill him, he will kill me. What is there to hesitate about? The path to immortality was vast and boundless. Demons ate humans, ghosts ate souls, so why couldn't they eat demons and devour ghosts? Even those immortals and gods who stood high in the nine heavens, which one of them didn't reach the peak by stepping on mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and then transform into the will of the heavenly Tao that saved the world. In the end, since he was on this path, if he didn't want to become a stepping stone for others, then he could only crush all his enemies and stand at the peak of the world. If the villains wanted to survive, they couldn't have a shred of compassion. Only then would they have a chance to escape the setting. Merely, at that moment, Bai Zixi and Ming Yuan's complexions were incomparably pale. Furthermore, Ming Yuan didn't doubt whether Ling Xiao was telling the truth at all. At this point, she couldn't think of any reason for him to deceive her. Even the first divine emissary had been toyed to death by him. In a holy continent, apart from the divine master, how many people could be his opponent? Now that the divine master was in seclusion, he could destroy the sacred sect, gather the forces of the four borders, and devour gods. She just didn't expect that the master who had taught her to slay demons for her was actually the greatest demon in this world. Saintess Ming Yuan, now you know what kind of person your master is, right? Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and his eyes suddenly became gentle. If you are willing, we can join forces to slay this demon. Slay this demon? You speak as if you aren't a demon. Ming Yuan snorted coldly and reached out to wipe away the tears at the corners of her eyes. Before Ling Xiao could speak, Nine Nether's eyes were already cold. What do you know? If it weren't for the young master, I wouldn't have awakened my memories. If it weren't for the young master, the blood feud of my Ming Feng clan would have been buried forever. The world wouldn't have seen the true face of the divine master. That's because you have value to be used. Ming Yuan glanced at Nine Nether and said calmly. She had a sharp mind and often looked at problems on a deeper level. Yes, the divine master was a demon, but who could guarantee that one day this young man would not become a second demon after killing the divine master? Nonsense. The young master is not that kind of person. At that time, I was being hunted by the Blood Soul Temple, and the young master didn't know my identity. At that time, I wanted to kill the young master, but the young master still protected me and saved my life. Oomph. Even today, the young master dared to make an enemy of the 10,000 monsters' sacred mountain for me and killed all those who bullied me. If it were you, would you dare do that? I won't allow you to insult the young master like that. Otherwise, I will destroy you on behalf of Qingxiu. Oomph. Bai Zixi pouted, crossed her arms, and looked angrily at Ming Yuan. This girl looked soft and weak, but she was unexpectedly vicious and doubted the young master's character. Oomph. How could such a handsome person like the young master have any bad intentions? Hearing Bai Zixi words, Ming Yuan surprisingly remained silent. Actually, since the appearance of Ling Xiao last time, her understanding of Ling Xiao had been completely overturned. Yes, he had done many unforgivable things to her. But at that time, she was the saintess of the saint sect. Perhaps that was the reason why he had bullied her. But later, he knew that she had been deceived by the divine master, so he never forced himself on her. Instead, he gave her elixirs to cultivate. There was no way to have the best of both worlds, not letting the common people down, not letting the people down. This sentence was like a curse that was deeply engraved in Ming Yuan's heart. Yes, he was a demon and he had never hidden his identity. But at the same time, he was loyal and he was willing to bear the sins of the past for his family. And he was willing to make an enemy of the Blood Soul Temple and the 10,000 monsters' sacred mountain for this girl from the Fox clan. Although Ming Yuan did not know Ling Xiao's background, be it the Blood Soul Temple or the 10,000 monsters' sacred mountain, they were forces that even the Saint sect was afraid of. But he did not seem to care, and he did it for the people he cared about. Inexplicably, Ming Yuan's heart suddenly had a trace of expectation. If I was his woman, would he treat me like this too? It seems like I'm already his woman, but other than bullying me, he has ignored me. He does not really care about me at all. Beep. The destined girl has feelings for the demon. Congratulations to the host for plundering 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. Hearing the system's voice, Ling Xiao's expression did not change at all. After all, he had put in a lot of effort to break the Saintess Taoist heart. But Ming Yuan would never have dreamed that there would be someone in this world who could see the luck of others. If Bai Zixi was not the destined girl, of course, would save her. Ling Xiao, am the light of righteousness, selfless and righteous. Who would doubt me? Chapter 848. In this world, there is no difference between immortals and demons. The only difference is what we seek. If we can save the world, what's the difference between immortal and demon cultivation? You can cultivate here in peace. I will help you find the answer you want. Ling Xiao took a deep look at Meng Yuan, then turned around and walked out of the ancient forest. However, just as he was about to disappear, he suddenly stopped and said without looking back, Meng Yuan, if you want to leave, I will let you go in a few days. Let me go. Meng Yuan frowned and sneered. Do you dare to let me go? Aren't you afraid that I will go back to the saint and reveal your identity to the public? It doesn't matter. If you want the Divine Master to continue sitting in his current position and secretly kill thousands of people, then do it. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Xiao didn't hesitate in the slightest and vanished on the spot. Why should I leave? The spirit chi here is rich, and there are countless pills. I can use this chance to break through. Meng Yuan clenched her teeth, but the words that came out of her mouth surprised even herself. What's wrong with me? Didn't I always want to leave this place and stay away from him? Suddenly, Meng Yuan's eyes flashed with confusion. That's right. There was no difference between immortals and demons in this world. Immortals in the eyes of all living things were not necessarily demons who killed people. Moreover, the Shangzhou was shackled by the heavenly Tao, and no one could step into the Emperor God realm. However, the Divine Master could, which meant that Ling Xiao could. After all, both of them were demons. If immortal cultivation could not break through the shackles, then demonic cultivation could save the world. Somehow, Meng Yuan seemed to have understood something. She felt that Ling Xiao was no longer a cruel and ruthless demon in her eyes. Perhaps he was only cruel to his enemies and the saint. Deep down, he should be a very kind and gentle person. If not, why would both Ling Tian and that young lady be so loyal to him? In the sky, Ling Xiao's expression was calm, and his eyes were cold. He was not joking when he said that he would let Meng Yuan go. As long as she wanted to leave, Ling Xiao would not stop her. However, the prerequisite was that he had complete control of the situation in the northern border. As such, even if she returned to the saint and reported the truth, there was nothing she could do. Moreover, Meng Yuan's model was of the highest quality. At the end of the day, although she no longer had any obsession with immortals and devils, she still instinctively wanted to protect the common people. What Ling Xiao always wanted her to understand was that he was a devil, but he was a devil who saved the world. As such, how could she easily expose Ling Xiao's identity? Of course, this was just Ling Xiao's judgment. If Meng Yuan really wanted to leave the realm, Ling Xiao would be relieved. Although the seal in her body had been broken, it was replaced by a wisp of devil will. As long as Ling Xiao willed it, he could turn him into an evil demon at any time, annihilate his mind, and make him fall into the demonic path forever. People's hearts were hard to predict. Therefore, it was better to have complete control over them. Nine Nether, go back to the mountain and make some preparations. I'm afraid that Nine Nether Mountain will become lively in a few days. I'll go and prepare some surprises for our guests. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and walked toward the Sky Hall. Ling Tian, Lin Meng, and the others were now in closed-door cultivation. In this realm, there was the Dragon Vein and the Order of Time. A month of closed-door cultivation was equivalent to a few months or even a year in the outside world. Although they were not enough to become Ling Xiao's arms now, Ling Xiao believed that as long as they were given time, this group of destined people would become the sharpest blades in his hands. However, Ling Xiao could feel Phoenix Rouge's aura appearing in the Sky Hall. She must have finished her closed-door cultivation. Buzz! As Ling Xiao's figure descended from the sky, a trace of joy appeared on Feng Rouge's pretty face in front of the hall. She turned her head and looked at the tall and straight figure in black, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously revealed a brilliant smile. Sir, Buzz. However, Just as Phoenix Rouge was about to run toward Ling Xiao, the space in front of her rippled again. A petite figure stepped out and stared at her warily. Sir, why are there so many beautiful ladies in your place?" Although there was a smile on Bai Jishi's small face, the vigilance in her eyes was not concealed. At this moment, her back was facing Ling Xiao. She sized up Phoenix Rouge and said, "Sister, please be reserved." Ouch! But just as she finished speaking, she felt a sharp pain on the top of her head. Ling Xiao reached out and flicked her head. He then looked at Phoenix Rouge and said, "Rouge, you're out of closed-door cultivation." Ling Xiao could see that Phoenix Rouge's providence had reached 6,000. She had also stepped into the 7th stage of the Divine Overlord realm. In half a month, she had broken through 3 stages. He had to admit that these destined women were all monsters. "Sir," Phoenix Rouge looked at Bai Jishi meaningfully. She was especially surprised by the demonic aura on the latter's body. She was only a 14-year-old girl. Phoenix Rouge naturally did not care about her. She only had one enemy in her heart. It was the Miss Nian that the girls were talking about. She heard that Ling Xiao had massacred a sect in the eastern border for her, and this Miss Nian seemed to have mysteriously disappeared. According to Phoenix Rouge's understanding, a girl who disappeared halfway would usually have a big background. She might even be the real female lead. No matter how confident Phoenix Rouge was in her skills, she would not be able to beat the original setting. So, it was a bit troublesome. "TCH, what's so good about cultivating?" "Brother, I won't cultivate in closed-door cultivation. I'm afraid you'll miss me. I'll stay by your side and accompany you." Bai Jishi rubbed her head and snorted. Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows and immediately shook his head. If Bai Jishi had not surrendered, he would have considered whether to harvest this little leek on the spot. "Don't cultivate? What's the use of keeping you?" "Rouge, there will be a fierce battle in the next 2 days." Ling Xiao's eyes were calm as he said softly, "A fierce battle? How fierce?" Phoenix Rouge's pretty face was stunned, but when she saw the playful look in Ling Xiao's eyes, her face suddenly flushed. Sir, what do you need me to do? What about the things you've been researching? Since it's a big battle, you expect me, a villain, to fight it head-on?" "Uffed. Were we? We're villains. Of course, it's convenient for us. I feel that a sinister weapon, like the sky poison, can be put to good use. It's not that I expect Phoenix Rouge to use the sky poison to kill 7th or 8th stage divine emperors. But if caught off guard, it's still very effective against 1st or 2nd stage divine emperors. Sir, don't worry. I've already ordered people to build 1,000 spirit crossbows. The spirit arrows have also been tempered with the sky poison. When used by a divine king, they can break the attack of a divine emperor. The sky poison spirit pearl has also been improved." Phoenix Rouge smiled evilly, and Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with coldness. "Good. Pick 1,000 divine king experts from the blood dragon guards and wait for my orders." "Yes. Brother, what are you talking about?" Bai Jishi's big, innocent eyes twinkled as she looked at Ling Xiao with a puzzled face. "Nothing, Jishi. If you want to follow me, you have to follow the rules I set. Break through to the Divine King realm within a month. Otherwise, leave." Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. Bai Jishi immediately covered her mouth and exclaimed, "A month? Divine King? Sir, are you deliberately chasing Jishi away? These elixirs are enough for you to enter the Divine King realm. It's up to you whether you work hard or not." Ling Xiao casually threw a Qianquan bag to Bai Jishi and turned to walk towards the distant mountains. This girl is extremely talented, but she's too lazy. Now that Ling Xiao wants to destroy the holy sect, he naturally won't keep trash by his side. Only the strong are qualified to be villains. Why are you putting on airs? Do you think you're very handsome? Very awesome? Oh, it seems like that's the case. Anyway, I've already scolded you in my heart. We're even now. I'll forgive you this once." Bai Jishi held the Qianquan bag and angrily turned to Phoenix Rouge. "What are you laughing at? If you can't cultivate to the Divine King realm, Sir will chase you away." I won't. Little sister, I've done it with Sir." Feng Ru Gu smiled charmingly, while Baijishi's small face suddenly flashed a touch of pale anger. You, shameless, hell shove. Chapter 849. The entire northern frontier was in a state of turmoil. Among the countless ancients, demonic chi soared into the sky. Divine might was vast and mighty. Layers of demonic clouds almost enveloped the entire northern region. Even some demon kings and great demons who hadn't come out for a long time walked out of their caves and rushed toward the thousand-devil sacred mountain. The saint of the sacred sect had returned to the demon race with the Ming Feng clan and killed thousands of demon race prodigies on Nine Phantom Mountain. Even the successors of the four king clans had died in the saint's hands. This wasn't just a matter of one clan. It concerned the entire northern border demon race. Everyone knew that the sacred sect was arrogant. However, the demons didn't expect the saint of the sacred sect to be so arrogant. According to some rumors, the saint even said that the northern border demon race was just livestock reared by the sacred sect. He could kill them however he wanted. After killing them, he would put some green onions on them and eat their meat. Extremely arrogant. Of course, these words were spread by the secret guards arranged by Folded Shadow. Their goal was to enrage the northern border demon race. The best hunters often appeared as prey. In the eyes of the northern border demon race, Ling Xiao was undoubtedly the prey that would die without a doubt. The current situation wasn't something the Thousand Devil Sacred Mountain could control. However, this matter was related to the Saint sect after all. Moreover, it was said that the Saint sect's holy son had a ninth-grade divine emperor protecting him. Therefore, all the lords of the demon clans gathered at the 10,000 Demon Sacred Mountain and asked the Blue Dragon Emperor to come forward and kill this person to give the various clans of the Northern Territory an explanation. Taking advantage of this opportunity, a black-robed figure descended from the sky from the various demon clans and turned to leave. The demon kings weren't here, and the strongest demon race leaders were only 7th-grade divine emperors. With Huahua and Xian's strength, these demon race elders and experts didn't have much power to resist. Moreover, no one expected Ling Xiao to walk out of Nine Phantom Mountain and come to the demon race. Demonic aura filled the Thousand Devil Sacred Mountain. Countless roars resounded from the top of the mountain. Many great demons gathered in the palace with furious expressions. If they weren't afraid of the Divine Master's might, they would have killed their way to Nine Phantom Mountain and eaten the arrogant saint alive. In the palace, the Blue Dragon Emperor's expression was serious. She felt that something was wrong. Back when the Divine Master had descended, he had indeed sensed a might that far surpassed that of a god emperor's. However, this pressure was far less terrifying than that of the previous Divine Masters. On the contrary, he could sense a faint trace of demonic intent from the current Divine Master. As the true ruler of the northern frontier, the Blue Dragon Emperor had visited almost every Divine Master. Only this Divine Master was strange in every way. However, this Divine Master was the only one who could offer such an irresistible temptation. A wisp of true dragon saint energy. Although there were many experts in the Shengzhou continent, in terms of age and experience, the number one demon emperor of the northern border was still more terrifying. He had once heard that this world was originally the true dragon's ancestral land, and that a true dragon of the nine heavens had once been born here. This dragon was born with the fortune of heaven and earth. It was a true innate god that controlled the order of heaven and earth. However, for some unknown reason, it was ultimately slaughtered, its soul extracted and bones refined before being suppressed in the Shengzhou continent. Originally, the Blue Dragon Emperor did not believe this rumor until the Divine Ancestor appeared. According to the demon race's Divine Ancestor, it was the ancient immortal race that had slaughtered the dragon god back then. Their goal was to refine this world into a prison and use the fortune of the dragon god to suppress demonic beings and change the heavenly secrets. Back then, in order to seal the remains of the true dragon, The immortal race had even chosen 5 top prodigies of the demon race and used their bodies as a medium to transform the power of the 5 elements to seal the dragon bones under the sacred mountain. At the same time, they used the bones to suppress another object. The divine ancestor was one of the 5 top prodigies of the demon race that had been sacrificed back then. However, in the end, the divine ancestor did not die. Instead, she fused the laws of cultivation of those 4 top prodigies and refined the sealed dragon bones. She became the only one in the world today. To put it bluntly, the current divine ancestor was the existence that had replaced the dragon god's position. As long as she could fuse with the true dragon saint energy of the sacred sect, she would become a true god. Of course, the news about the true dragon saint energy was only the speculation of the divine ancestor and the blue dragon emperor. After all, the dragon saint energy in the divine master's hands was undoubtedly the dragon god energy. Therefore, the blue dragon emperor guessed that the true dragon saint energy that the divine ancestor spoke of was in the sacred sect. However, based on the sacred sect's responsibilities, they did not dare to fuse with the true dragon saint energy, because this object was the key to suppressing this world. Given the dragon god's strength, it would be very difficult for a mere supremacy to refine it. This was also why the immortal race dared to seal such a divine object here, and even sent a human to guard it. One could look at it, but one could not take it away. But even the 9 heavens masters of the celestial race probably did not expect that divine ancestor Long Xian would accidentally break the seal of the array and reappear in this world after 1,000 years. Although her cultivation level had fallen to the level of a 6th-stage divine emperor in the past 1,000 years, given the true dragon's sacred bone in her body, as long as she was given time, she would sooner or later return to the top of the world and lead the demon race to dominate the Shenzhou region. Dragon Emperor. The sacred sect is arrogant. Just because a servant girl was injured, the saint ordered people to kill us juniors. The northern border will definitely avenge this. What servant girl was injured? That king you took the initiative to challenge the northern border's rules. I think it was premeditated. The sacred sect wants to use this to intimidate the northern border and cut off our bloodline so that the demon race will never be able to rise again. That's right. All these years, the demon race has been struggling at death's door and accumulating power in secret. The sacred sect must be afraid and came up with such a sinister move. The demon kings roared in anger and grief. They looked rather agitated. However, the Blue Dragon Emperor fell into a long period of silence after hearing their words. The demon race did not know about the divine ancestor's reappearance. The safest way now was to wait for the divine ancestor to reach the supremacy realm before plotting against the world. According to the divine ancestor, the dragon god was the embodiment of the heavenly Tao's will in this world. The so-called shackles of the world did not restrict her too much. As long as she could find a way to obtain the true dragon saint energy, she could become a new god. But now, the saint had suddenly arrived and slaughtered the demon race. No matter how she looked at it, it seemed like a conspiracy. If she impulsively took revenge, it would give the divine master a reason to attack. But if she swallowed this, she would probably lose all her prestige in the northern border in the future. She was in a dilemma. Now, except for Qin Xiu, the demon kings of the 10 great royal clans were all here. Among the 9, 3 had reached the 8th grade, and the remaining 6 were 7th grade. Such strength could be said to be invincible in Shenzhou. But the Blue Dragon Emperor felt a headache when she thought of the divine master's might. Although the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain was the demon race's totem, it was also because she was a 9th grade martial emperor. But now, if she lost the respect of these 9 demon kings, the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain could be said to be cutting off her own arms. Then, it would be difficult to borrow their strength to plot against the sacred sect's true dragon energy. Sigh. The Blue Dragon Emperor sighed in her heart. She was in a dilemma. At this moment, a cold and domineering voice suddenly sounded from the depths of the hall. Oh, the sacred sect's saint? Slaughtering the demon race? You really don't know your limits. Chapter 850. The 9 monster kings were stunned when they heard the voice. They looked at the blue dragon emperor in surprise. Then, everyone was dumbfounded when they saw the overlord of the northern region, the only 9th-grade divine emperor in the demon clan, suddenly stand up and step down from his throne. He then bowed deeply toward the beautiful figure that was walking out from the depths of the hall. "Welcome, divine ancestor." Divine ancestor? For a moment, the hall was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. The 9 god emperors looked at each other with shock and fear in their eyes. How terrifying and ancient was the person that the blue dragon emperor bowed to. Clang, clang, clang. The footsteps got closer and closer until a graceful figure in a golden robe walked out of the darkness and appeared in front of the demon kings. A commotion immediately broke out in the hall. At this moment, they were not shocked by the divine ancestor's cultivation base, but by her enchanting and perfect face. Even with the temperament of the 9 monster kings, when they saw Long Xian for the first time, their eyes flashed with deep amazement, especially the aura that flowed from her body. She was domineering and elegant. Her every move was filled with an aura of supremacy. However, this domineering aura did not anger the monster kings. Instead, it made them want to submit to her. "Divine ancestor, why have you come out?" The blue dragon emperor narrowed her eyes, but she was a little surprised. Long Xian had told them not to reveal her identity to avoid unnecessary trouble. However, she had shown herself today. Did she have the confidence to fight against a divine master? Inexplicably, the blue dragon emperor felt a trace of excitement. For the past 300 years, the monster clan had been reared here like livestock by the saint sect. One had to know that in this world, demons were reigning supreme. The pride that flowed in their bones could not be erased even after thousands of years. The blue dragon emperor had submitted to the saint sect because he wanted the chance to break through the shackles. However, with the appearance of the divine ancestor, his desire had turned into desire. The monster clan was about to rise. "I've heard about what happened in the 9 underworld mountain." Long Xian walked to the throne and sat on it, looking down at the monster kings. "The monster clan reigned supreme in this world, but we were humiliated by a human youth. How can we resolve this hatred?" Divine ancestor, only by killing this kid will we be able to resolve the hatred in our hearts." The Golden Condor Demon King gritted his teeth. The young master of the Golden Condor clan, Jin Yi, had died tragically on 9 Phantom Mountain. Even the 2 elders of his clan had been slaughtered. For the Golden Condor clan, it was a calamity. One had to know that the more powerful a demon's bloodline was, the less likely it was to give birth to a child. As for the descendants of demon immortals and demon emperors, they were usually accompanied by heavenly luck. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to be born. With Jin Yi's death, the Golden Condor clan lost half of their fortune. "Kill this kid." Long Xian furrowed her brows as disdain filled her eyes. Then a majestic aura suddenly burst forth. A golden dragon silhouette seemed to have pierced through the ages and appeared in the sky, enveloping Long Xian's body. The vast saint aura crushed the heavens and the earth. Even the blue dragon emperor felt a sense of fear rising from the bottom of her heart. In fact, compared to before, the divine ancestor's draconic blessing seemed even more terrifying. But her cultivation level didn't seem to have changed. What was going on? Plop. The expressions of all the monster kings changed drastically as they all knelt on the ground. Not only was there not a trace of fear in their eyes, there was instead a trace of devout excitement. True Dragon Saint Aura. This was the True Dragon Saint Aura. Since when did the northern border demon race give birth to a true dragon? From today onwards, the demon race no longer needs to bow to anyone. Long Xian's tone was cold, and there was an undeniable domineering look on her beautiful face. Around her, tens of thousands of rays of light rose into the sky as countless strange phenomena appeared. Among them, there seemed to be a golden tiger bowing its head, a white elephant kneeling, and a divine eagle descending from the sky, as if worshipping the true saint spirit of the demon race. Just yesterday, Long Xian had finally perfectly fused the power of the dragon bone into her spine and attached it to her body. And with this dragon bone, she could be said to be immortal in this world. In fact, Long Xian could clearly feel a dragon's roar in the middle of the Shengzhou region, as if calling her over. But what made Long Xian a little confused was that she could faintly feel that there was a power of the same origin as her in the northern border that seemed to be deliberately suppressed. But the occasional wisp of aura made her feel a sense of familiarity. The sacred ancestors' heavenly might. The Blue Dragon Emperor raised her head and shouted. Even in the depths of the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain, two great demons woke up from their slumber and rushed towards the palace at the peak of the mountain. They were the other two demon emperors of the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain, the poisonous centipede emperor and the white elephant emperor. The two emperors had been in seclusion for 100 years, ignoring worldly matters and focusing on comprehending the Tao. But even after 100 years, they still had not truly stepped into the rank 9 martial emperor realm and were only at the peak of rank 8. But just the demonic aura accumulated over the years was enough to make all demons fear and submit to them. Big brother, this is... The white elephant emperor was dressed in a white robe. He was 10 meters tall and had fair skin. Even his voice was gentle and charming. At this moment, there was also a look of shock on his face, especially the holy will that Long Xian exuded. It seemed to be of the same origin as heaven and earth, and no one dared to disobey it. Beside him, an elder in a jade-green robe glanced at the demons with a dark expression, his green eyes seeming to be impatient. This demon was the poisonous centipede emperor of the 3 emperors. He was also at the peak of rank 8, but the demons were clearly more afraid of him. It was rumored that this demon had a grudge with an ancient sect of the human race. He had once used his own strength to kill 5,000 disciples of the ancient sect and several god emperors in an hour, becoming famous after that battle. The number of people in the world who could withstand his poison could be counted on one hand. This is our demon race's divine ancestor. The Blue Dragon Emperor's expression was solemn, and there was a hint of worry in her eyes. She was not worried that the White Elephant Emperor would speak rudely, but that poisonous centipede had always been domineering. He did not care about anyone other than her. Once he offended the divine ancestor, given how domineering the divine ancestor was. Our divine ancestor? Since when did our race have such a delicate and beautiful divine ancestor? Big brother, have you been bewitched, or have you gone senile? As expected, the poisonous centipede emperor snorted coldly and spoke mockingly after the Blue Dragon Emperor spoke. The demonic Tao he believed in was based on strength, not bloodline. Moreover, he was originally a poisonous insect of heaven and earth. His bloodline was lowly, or rather, he had no bloodline at all. Such a demon only cared about killing and looked down on the so-called bloodline suppression. His demonic path had once been filled with tribulations and mockery. Now, the great northern border demon emperor, had to bow down to a girl with a powerful bloodline who was far weaker than him. What a joke. Poisonous centipede. You. The Blue Dragon Emperor's expression changed. He was a descendant of the dragon race and had a trace of the dragon bloodline in him. Although his strength was unparalleled in the northern border, the bloodline suppression Long Xian gave him was even more terrifying. It was an instinctive fear that could not be broken. Of course, the Blue Dragon Emperor was wholeheartedly assisting Long Xian, not only for herself, but also because she hoped that the demon race could once again stand at the top of the Shengzhou continent and rule the world under her leadership. I heard that there is no antidote for your poison. While the Blue Dragon Emperor's expression was awkward, a cold smile suddenly appeared on Long Xian's face. Chapter 851. I can kill a mere 6th-grade god emperor with a wave of my hand. You think you can become a god of the monster race just because of your bloodline? The poisonous centipede emperor snorted coldly. He did not care about anyone in the entire North Border other than the Blue Dragon Emperor. Even the White Elephant Emperor, who was at the same level as him, would not be his match in a battle of life and death. Although there were many monster kings in the North Border, only the Blue Dragon Emperor could threaten his life. Since the Thousand Monsters Sacred Mountain wanted to intimidate all the monsters, the Blue Dragon Emperor would not attack him. Otherwise, she would be damaging her own foundation. Is that so? Then I would like to see how you're going to kill me with one strike. Long Xian snorted coldly and walked down the hall toward the poisonous Centipede Emperor. The Blue Dragon Emperor's face darkened. Divine Ancestor, you can't. He did not doubt Long Xian's strength, but the poisonous Centipede Emperor's poison was terrifying. Even he was wary of it. Although Long Xian had the dragon bone, fighting her now would not bode well for her. Moreover, there was no antidote for that kind of poison. Even the Blue Dragon Emperor would not be able to stop it. Are you doubting me? Long Xian frowned and turned to look at the Blue Dragon Emperor. The latter immediately felt a surge of heavenly power, and a trace of fear grew in her heart. Finally, she gritted her teeth and retreated to the side, not daring to say another word. Come on, let me see how terrifying your poison is. Long Xian walked in front of the poisonous Centipede Emperor and said calmly, You don't know your place. The venomous Centipede Emperor no longer hesitated when he heard that. He slammed his palm down, causing green mist to fill the sky. The Demon Kings were so shocked that they all retreated a few meters. Their bodies lit up with dazzling demonic radiance. Clearly, they feared the venomous Centipede Emperor greatly. However, they did not say anything at this moment. Although they were intimidated by Long Xian's bloodline talent, a sixth grade god emperor still needed a lot of time to grow to the level where she could fight against a divine master. Otherwise, if the monster race really became enemies with the Saint sect, it would be an eternal war. Therefore, they wanted to see the monster race's divine ancestors' strength with their own eyes. Buzz. The entire large hall was instantly covered by the poison fog. The deep dark green color caused one's scalp to turn numb. However, there was no trace of fear on Long Xian's face. She calmly extended her jade-like hand and collided with the poisonous Centipede Emperor's poisonous palm. Boundless golden light suddenly shone brightly. Above Long Xian's jade-like hand, there seemed to be an illusion of a golden dragon breaking through the air, crushing the space and suppressing the heavens and earth. Boom! The entire hall instantly collapsed into pieces. Boundless spiritual power surged out in all directions, causing the sky to darken and the plants to wither. Long Xian's body flew backwards and landed on the ground. Her eyes flashed with coldness. She lowered her head and looked at the jade-like hand that was corroded and coiled by the poisonous mist. In a short period of time, her entire arm had actually been corroded and swallowed by the poisonous mist, and only bones remained. Moreover, the corrosion did not stop and continued to spread to every part of her body. Venerable Ancestor! The Blue Dragon Emperor's expression changed drastically. However, the poisonous Centipede Emperor sneered and said arrogantly, That's it? You still want to take control of the northern border? Oh! Long Xian shook her head and chuckled. Her eyes suddenly shone with a blinding golden light. Around her body, a demonic light that was as bright as the sun began to fluctuate. Vaguely, an ancient and profound aura seemed to be awakening from a deep slumber. Spiritual energy descended from the heavens and the earth, and the mountain wind blew. Spiritual energy from thousands of miles away gathered and landed on Long Xian's body. Immediately after, everyone was dumbstruck as they saw that flesh and blood began to grow on her arm, which had been corroded into bones by the highly toxic poison. In just a breath's time, the so-called incurable poison had dissipated, and Long Xian's injuries were completely healed. Gulp! Even with the temperament of the three demon emperors, they felt a chill rise from the bottom of their hearts. What was immortality? Immortality? What was eternity? Immortality? Who would have thought that this divine ancestor Long Xian, a sixth-stage martial emperor, would already have an indestructible body? Moreover, She already had the 5 laws and could control the 5 elements of heaven and earth. Who in the world could kill such a peerless genius? Especially the poisonous centipede emperor. He felt his heart tremble and did not know what to say. He had fought countless battles in his life. Although he had been defeated before, none of his opponents had been able to escape unscathed. His combat power might not be as strong as Azure Dragon and White Elephant. Even some 8-stage peak demon kings could match him. That was because he did not have a bloodline, a foundation, or a special ability that could split the heavens and earth. However, the great Tao was fair and all creatures were equal. His poison was his trump card that could intimidate the world. It was also his supreme treasure that allowed him to stand at the peak and look down on all the other demon emperors. However, today, his invincible poison was broken. I am already indestructible in this world. What can the sacred sect and the divine master do to me? Long Xian's calm voice rang in the hearts of all the demon emperors. Then, she turned and walked to the top of the hall and sat on the golden chair again. From today onwards, I am the empress of the demon race. The empress is not to be humiliated. You can either submit to me or fall into the cycle of reincarnation forever. Kill them. What? All the demon emperors were shocked. They did not dare to object when Long Xian was crowned empress. However, wasn't it too domineering to kill a demon emperor just like that? The empress is not to be humiliated. This could no longer be described as domineering. This demon emperor was simply the ruler of the world. Why are you still hesitating? Long Xian looked coldly at Azure Dragon Emperor. Azure Dragon Emperor finally looked determined. Demonic light shot out from her body, and she turned into a dragon shadow that charged toward poisonous centipede emperor. Azure Dragon, you want to kill me? The venomous centipede emperor's eyes were filled with fear. However, as soon as he finished speaking, another demonic figure that was several meters tall descended from the sky and suppressed him. It was the White Elephant Emperor. These 2 demon emperors were not on good terms. Poisonous Centipede was especially arrogant and had never taken White Elephant seriously. Even though White Elephant had become a demon emperor 100 years earlier than him, Poisonous Centipede had surpassed him and had always called himself the 2nd demon emperor of the 10,000 demons Sacred Mountain. This kind of conflict was not a big deal. However, adding insult to injury had always been the norm. If one could reach the peak, who would be willing to submit to another? Now that Long Xian was crowned empress, she would definitely intimidate all the demon emperors. How would she intimidate them? With her mouth? Of course. She would kill all the demon emperors. She would kill all the demon emperors who could make all the demon emperors submit to her. In this way, when Long Xian ascended the throne, she would kill Poison Centipede, the demon emperor, who in the northern border would not submit to her. She would use the power that he had accumulated for hundreds of years to exchange for the new empress's etiquette and make all the demon emperors submit to her. Kill. The remaining 9 demon kings looked at each other and finally dared not hesitate. They stepped forward, and the demonic might around them shook the sky as they bit at the poisonous centipede. In order to show their loyalty, a few demon emperors even revealed their true forms. Therefore, no matter if one was a human or a demon, one should not be arrogant. Otherwise, once someone seized the opportunity, it was possible that they would be attacked by a group and would be consigned to eternal damnation. Chapter 852. Boom! Thunderclouds suddenly gathered on the 10,000 monstrous sacred mountain, and lightning struck. Boundless demonic might crush the heavens and the earth, intending to shatter the blue sky. All the demonic beasts within a radius of 1,000 miles looked in the direction of the sacred mountain with terrified expressions. Space had been torn apart at the top of the mountain, and several demonic beasts were fighting. It was an extremely tragic scene. In particular, a 100-meter-long centipede was surrounded and attacked by the demonic beasts. In just a short moment, it was torn to pieces. However, at the moment of his death, the poisonous centipede emperor's body was covered in demonic light. Boundless poisonous light covered the mountains and rivers, and it turned into a seal that slammed down on the demonic beasts in front of him. Green light flowed on the poisonous seal, and demonic patterns covered it. It contained a terrifying aura that could destroy life. At the same time, blood-red light floated on the poisonous centipede emperor's body, and his soul power was extinguished. Clearly, this attack was the demonic centipede emperor's final struggle before his death. Seeing this scene, even the blue dragon emperor's eyes flickered with fear. She suddenly stepped forward and waved her hand lightly, smashing down a rank 7 demonic centipede emperor in front of her to block the terrifying poisonous seal. This demonic centipede emperor was also a demonic centipede emperor. It was an extremely poisonous golden scorpion, and it had always followed the poisonous centipede emperor's orders. Such a demonic centipede emperor might be disloyal, so his death was not regrettable. Poochie. As expected, the instant the poisonous seal landed, the rank 7 demonic centipede emperor was directly reduced to a bloody mist that filled the sky and dissipated into nothingness. I will not let you succeed. Even if I die, I will make you all die with me. With my blood soul, I curse all of your descendants to be poisoned to death. The poisonous centipede emperor roared at the sky. His body was already a bloody mess. Then he suddenly spat out something from his mouth. It was a green demonic core the size of a human head. Before the demonic beast could react, it shattered into pieces. Buzz! Boundless poisonous light fell from the sky like a green heavenly river that was about to envelop the 10,000 monstrous sacred mountain. As for the poisonous centipede emperor's corpse, it was corroded by the poisonous mist and started to decay. Damn it! The blue dragon emperor's expression changed. She wanted to stop it, but at that moment, golden light shot into the sky under the poisonous mist. Immediately afterward, the phantom of a golden dragon extended for hundreds of meters, completely blocking the poison screen. Instantly, the 10,000 monsters' sacred mountain was filled with cheers and worship. Countless monsters knelt on the ground and roared. Once the poisonous mist had descended, the sacred mountain of 10,000 demons would have become barren and all the demons would have perished. Long Xian's expression was cold as she stood in the sky. Her golden robe was bright and holy. She lowered her head and looked down at the demons, looking like a savior. With her temperament, how could she not know what it meant to be in control? With a tyrannical and unparalleled momentum, he killed the rebels, and with a merciful and unparalleled posture, he saved the people from desperate situations. As such, the northern frontier would revere her as a god. An 8th-grade divine emperor, great demon? Haha, I, Long Xian, am walking on the path of invincibility. Following me is a blessing of 3 lifetimes. Holy ancestors' might. The demon emperor is righteous. The entire 10,000 monsters' sacred mountain suddenly burst into cheers. The monsters in the mountain all knelt down on the ground, their eyes filled with reverence. Even the blue dragon emperor and the 8 demon kings bowed down. There was no longer any doubt on their faces. If even the poisonous centipede emperor's poison could not kill the holy ancestor, did it mean that she was already indestructible? The sacred sect has bullied us for hundreds of years. Now it is time to wipe them out. Demon kings, listen up. Return to the tribe and gather all the strong cultivators. 3 days later, follow me to flatten the 9 underworlds mountain. Long Xian sneered and disappeared from the spot. Although she had used the power of the dragon bone to resist the corrosion of the demonic poison, she had used up a lot of energy. The dragon bone could borrow the power of heaven and earth to recover one's physical body. This talent was incredible. However, although the power of heaven and earth was endless, it still needed some time to recover. Of course, the reason why Long Xian chose to rebel against the sacred sect was because she was invincible. More importantly, she needed the dragon luck that the sacred sect had suppressed. Only by merging the dragon luck into her body could she be considered invincible in this world. With the strength of the northern frontier's demons, it would be difficult to kill the divine master. However, Long Xian only needed some time. Some time for her to merge with the dragon luck. Then, when she appeared as a true dragon and crushed the so-called divine master to death, there would only be one deity in this world. That would be her, Long Xian. The tiger hides deep in the mountains and listens to the wind. The dragon lies in the shallows and waits for the tides. Originally, Long Xian was still hesitating about how to command the demons to go against the sacred sect. Now, everything seemed to be solved. The destined ones were protected by the heavenly Tao and assisted by the gods. Yes, your majesty. The 8 monster kings looked at each other, and their eyes flickered with excitement. Finally, the hatred that had been suppressed for hundreds of years could be vented. So what if he is the divine master of the sacred sect? The new demon king will step on the head of the sacred sect's divine master and reach the top. Master, there is a huge battle at the Thousand Demons Sacred Mountain just now. The poisonous centipede emperor and the golden scorpion king died at the same time. The demon race's divine ancestor has appeared. In the center of the northern frontier, under a mountain, Ling Xiao casually threw a demon race-strong cultivator to the ground. He looked at the voice transmission talisman in his hand and said calmly, "Oh, internal strife started just like that? Did you see the cultivation level of the demon race's divine ancestor? My lord, he should be a 6th-stage divine emperor. However, this demon seems to have some innate abilities. He is immortal and can merge with the power of heaven and earth." Layered Shadow's voice came from the voice transmission talisman. However, Ling Xiao shook his head slightly. Merging with the power of heaven and earth was nothing to be surprised about. Even if Ling Xiao did not use the sky demon true body, he could still merge the power of heaven and earth with the immortal source in his body. However, immortal and indestructible, a 6th-stage divine emperor had the innate ability to be immortal and indestructible. Interesting. This demon race's divine ancestor sounded like a very healthy leek. If he ate it, he could become stronger. Understand, my lord, the 8 demon kings have returned. The demon race's divine ancestor said that he will flatten the 9th underworld mountain in 3 days. Flatten the 9th underworld mountain? Ling Xiao put away the voice transmission talisman and stroked Ziyin, who was in his arms, with a smile on his face. It seemed that this demon race's divine ancestor was extraordinarily arrogant. However, what made Ling Xiao curious was that the demon race had always respected the strong. Why would the Blue Dragon Emperor, a 9th-stage divine emperor, bow down to a 6th-stage demon, divine ancestor? Just by hearing this name, this Long Xian's identity was probably not simple. Could it be that she was another reincarnated person? My lord, where are we going now? Floey stood behind Ling Xiao and looked at the docile cat in his arms warily. Only now did she understand why her lord dared to make the northern border an enemy. It turned out that there was more than one 9th-stage divine emperor behind him. Back to the 9th underworld mountain and prepare to welcome the guests from the northern border. Ling Xiao smiled warmly and lowered his head to look at Ziyin. Arrays were useless. Some array geniuses could create arrays with a glance and trap and kill tens of thousands of enemies. It was terrifying, but anyone with a brain wouldn't enter it rashly. However, it was different now. As long as he stood in the 9th underworld mountain, countless prey would come to him. At that time, all arrays and heavenly poisons would be destroyed. Everyone from the northern border, would you be happy? 6th-stage divine emperor, demon race's divine ancestor. If this person did not have heaven-defying luck, he would not be able to command the demon race. Chapter 853. There is a pitch-black stone mountain less than 1,000 miles away from the 10,000 demons' sacred mountain. The mountain was barren and devoid of life. It was covered with a layer of eerie death aura. Piles of white bones could be seen at the foot of the mountain. The eerie white color indicated that it had been there for a long time. A beautiful middle-aged woman in a plain robe stood on the peak of the mountain with her hands behind her back. Her aura was different from the stone mountain. Her skin was as white as jade. Her facial features were exquisite, and her expression was slightly cold. It was obvious that she was a peerless beauty when she was young. Even though there were signs of age on her face, it could not hide her otherworldly temperament. Do you feel it? Behind her was a cave made of rubble. At this moment, a stooped figure in black robes slowly walked over from the entrance of the cave. He stood beside the woman and looked in the direction of the 10,000 Devil sacred mountain. It's the aura of the poisonous centipede. The beautiful woman in plain robes nodded slightly. She seemed to be confused. The three emperors of the Northern Territory ruled the world. It was impossible for such a fierce battle to break out. The poisonous centipede emperor's methods were terrifying. However, he was unable to resist the Azure Dragon Emperor. Why did he still fight to the death? Could it be that something had happened in the demon clan? 3 months ago, I observed the sky and saw a divine star falling from the sky. I thought it was a good omen for the demon clan. However, the star fell and shattered in the sky, burning thousands of miles of the Northern Territory. The black-robed figure slowly raised his head and revealed an ugly face full of pimples, especially his pair of brown vertical pupils. They were even ghastly like a scorpion, and they revealed an indescribably evil aura. It seems that something big is going to happen in the Northern Territory. The beautiful woman in plain robes nodded slowly. There was not much expression on her beautiful face. Her name was Yuanju, the second divine envoy of the Saint sect. She was also the top person in this world. She was a 9th grade divine emperor. What do you think of the Saint sect saint? The beautiful woman suddenly turned and looked at the black-robed elder beside her. For the first time, there was a serious look in her eyes. I can't see through him. Or rather, with my strength, I can't break the Tao mechanism on him. The black-robed old man sighed and shook his head slightly. You're a rank 8 martial emperor, yet you're unable to see through a youngster's origin. Yuanju raised her eyebrows and suddenly chuckled. Ghost Toad, you've lived for thousands of years in vain. You're known as the wisest man in the northern frontier, but there are still people you can't see through. Sigh, I'm getting old. The world now belongs to the younger generation. If I'm not wrong, the demon race's divine star fell on the 1,000 Demons sacred mountain. You've seen what happened on the sacred mountain today. I'm afraid that the demon race and the saint sect will have an endless war. Yuanju, what will you choose this time? The ghost toad's face revealed a bitter smile. However, this smile, coupled with its extremely ugly face, was truly terrifying. In the past few days, there have been rumors from the Demon Clan that the Dark King on 9 Underworlds Mountain is from the Dark Phoenix Clan. What do you think? I didn't sense any bloodline fluctuation from the Dark Emperor Clan. That's not true. The ghost toad shook its head, holding a blood-colored spiritual jade in its skinny, dark hand. Yuanjua, have you found anything in the past 300 years? Not yet. However, this divine master is quite mysterious and domineering. I suspect he's not from the Foliaceae. Yuanju looked at the distant sky, her beautiful eyes filled with desolation. She was originally a famous great demon in the northern frontier. When the Foliaceae descended, she was accepted as the divine envoy of the Saint sect. Her original intention was to maintain the stability of the world. However, too many unforeseen events had happened in the past 300 years. As a result, this second divine envoy had a trace of confusion in her heart. Was the stability of the world really a good thing? You and Dark Emperor were good friends. Now that her whereabouts are unknown and her bloodline is severed, Yuanju, do you really not want to find out the truth of that year? The ghost toad's expression suddenly turned cold. His talent was to calculate, not to fight. Otherwise, he would have set foot on the Saint sect in the past 300 years to find that proud and gentle Lord Dark Phoenix who once suppressed thousands of demons. That's right. Everyone says that I, the ghost toad, am a greedy person. With Lord Dark Phoenix's peerless beauty, how could a toad like me be a good match for her? However, 300 years had passed. Which of those demon kings and demon emperors who once followed Lord Dark Phoenix still remembered her shadow that soared through the 9 heavens proudly. So what if we find her? Do you think we can overturn the Shengzhou continent with our strength? Yuan Ju sighed and turned to look at the old man beside her. The toad was originally an infatuated species. He had wronged his true feelings and earned himself a bad reputation. In her era, all demons laughed at the mention of the ghost toad because he once revealed his true feelings in public on the day Dark Phoenix ascended the throne. It was conceivable that with the pride of that clan, how could they fancy an ugly and lowly toad? Even Yuan Ju had mocked him at that time. However, who would have thought that his true feelings would persist for 300 years? In the past 300 years, the ghost toad had been calculating the heavenly Tao's aura all the time to find Dark Emperor's whereabouts. With his talent, he even had the chance to step into the 9th stage Great Demon Emperor realm and become a supreme demon. However, he was willing to return his demon aura to the heavenly Tao just to find the burden in his heart. Yuan Ju was moved by his perseverance, and the ghost toad became the only person she could open her heart to in this world. Even if I can't overturn it, I will return the truth to the world and give myself peace of mind. The ghost toad took a deep breath, and a wisp of demon aura suddenly surged into the world. Yuan Ju, let me ask you, if I want to kill the sacred sex chosen, will you stop me? Yes. Yuan Ju didn't hesitate at all, but her eyes flickered with pain. When I entered the sacred sect and received the divine master's favor, I swore with my Tao heart that I would never betray him. Otherwise, I will be punished by the heavens. So, you ultimately love yourself more than the world. Forget it. Let's see who will get what they want. The ghost toad was silent for a long time, and then smiled freely. Not all opposites were life and death grudges. For example, he and Yuan Ju were originally close friends, but because of the different perseverance in their hearts, their paths were different. He was willing to go against the heavens and kill the gods for the love in his heart, but Yuan Ju couldn't give up her Tao and was willing to be a slave. As an old friend, let me give you a piece of advice. That sacred sex chosen might not be the real sacred sex chosen. However, since he dared to provoke the 10,000 demons at Sacred Mountain, he must have something to rely on. You have calculated the fate of your entire life. Don't become someone else's chess piece. Yuan Ju took a deep look at the ghost toad, and her figure suddenly disappeared. That's right. From the beginning to the end, she didn't believe that the person on 9 Phantom Mountain was the real sacred sex chosen. In Yuan Ju's opinion, everything he did was no different from digging his own grave. However, no matter what his motive was, Yuan Ju didn't intend to get involved. The destruction of the 10,000 demons, Sacred Mountain, and the massacre of 9 Phantom Mountain had nothing to do with her. What she wanted was to live as long as the heavens. Chapter 854. It was dead silent on Ghost Mountain until Yuan Ju's figure disappeared. Tens of thousands of demonic clouds descended from the sky, completely enveloping this lifeless dead mountain. Ghost Toad stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the demonic clouds above his head. He seemed to be in deep thought. With his strength, if he couldn't see through a young man's past, it was obvious that the young man had a terrifying background. In the entire Shengzhou, the only people who had the power to conceal themselves from him, besides the Divine Master, was the mysterious sect master of the Tianji sect. It was said that there was a sect master in the eastern border who was also good at this. Including him, there were only 3 of them. If Ling Xiao was a member of the sect master or a disciple of the sect master, he wouldn't have the courage to provoke the 1,000 demons Sacred Mountain. Therefore, Ghost Toad thought that the young man on 9 Phantom Mountain must be the saint of the sacred sect. No matter what he or the Divine Master was plotting, this might be Ghost Toad's only chance to find out the secret of the past. While the 1,000 demons Sacred Mountain was attacking, he could capture the young man and search his soul. Or even, if the young man had the Divine Master's seal, he might be able to find out the secret of the Shengzhou ruler. You weren't in any of the 90,000 trigrams. Dark Emperor, have you really died? At the foot of 9 Phantom Mountain, Yuan Ju's figure appeared. She looked at the main hall on the mountain silently. At this moment, there was a trace of hesitation on her face. That's right, Dark Emperor was her best friend. They were like sisters. However, she pursued longevity and immortality. So she was eventually recruited by the Foliaceae of the upper domain and became a follower of this world. However, was she really emotionless and hateful? Obviously not. Moreover, since Lord Yi died 300 years ago, she had suspected that the Divine Master might not be a member of the Foliaceae. So what? A ninth-grade Divine Emperor seemed to be at the top of the world, but he was still a mortal. How could a mortal be a god? This step was like the abyss between heaven and earth, impossible to cross. Since the day Yuan Ju entered the northern border, she had been staying on Ghost Mountain and had never left. The Divine Master ordered to find the demon who comprehended the Ice Tao law and kill him. However, this was the territory of the demon race. There wasn't even a human here, let alone a demon who comprehended the Ice Tao law. At the peak of the 9 Underworlds mountain, there was an oppressive atmosphere. All the powerhouses of the 9 Underworlds mountain were in their respective positions, ready for battle. In 3 days, the entire northern border demon clan would attack 9 Nether Mountain. Even now, there were countless powerful auras hidden at the foot of the mountain. It was obvious that the 9th Underworld mountain had become an isolated island, and no one could easily leave it. However, what made the great demons of the 9th Underworld mountain feel strange was that many unfamiliar experts seemed to have appeared on the mountain in a single day. Their divine might was vast and mighty, and they seemed to be secretly setting up something. Of course, even though the demonic beasts had seen Ling Zhao's tactics and the 9th grade Divine Emperor behind him, there was only despair in their hearts. They didn't have any hope at all. In the northern frontier, there were millions of miles of rivers and mountains, and countless great demon experts. Just the 3 emperors and 10 kings alone was not something a 9th grade Divine Emperor could withstand. Once the Blue Dragon Emperor personally arrived, not even a blade of grass would grow on 9 Underworld Mountain. But what can I do? I also want to escape, but I can't. The young master of the Golden Condor clan and countless descendants of the Demon Clan died at 9 Spectres Mountain. Do you think those Demon Clan experts would believe me if I went down the mountain and told them that I didn't do anything? F***CK. In the realm, Ling Zhao's figure sat cross-legged in the void with his eyes closed and focused. Around him, there were thousands of Taoist rhymes circulating layer upon layer. It was like a new sun. However, under the cover of the Taoist rhymes, there was also a wisp of demonic wool quietly rippling and evolving mysteriously. 3 days was enough for him to make another breakthrough in his cultivation. Although Ling Zhao was confident that the battle was under his control, he still couldn't afford to be careless in the face of a destined person who could suppress an entire territory and gather all the demon clan's luck. Now, Ling Zhao understood why there were so few demonic beasts with luck. The reason was probably because of the demon clan's divine ancestor. Looking at this template, it was most likely the invincible opening style, which was the so-called long Outyin template. If I am invincible, you can do whatever you want. If I am a demon, I will rule the world. He was arrogant, but he had luck. His talent was heaven-defying, and he had the ability to dominate the world. When he appeared, he was at the peak and could command thousands of demonic beasts. Now, the Divine Master was coincidentally in seclusion. Even without Ling Zhao, with his ability, Meng Yuan wouldn't be a match for him. Moreover, Ling Zhao guessed that the demon clan's divine ancestor appearing now might have something to do with the dragon soul that was suppressed by the Saint sect. Interesting. How many slashes could a 6th grade divine emperor take? In the blink of an eye, you are already a 3rd grade divine emperor. In the heavenly palace, Feng Ling, who was wearing a black dress, sat at the edge of the square. Her fair legs swayed in the void, and there was a touch of vicissitudes on her face. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Of course, in the realm, 3 days was equivalent to 7 days. In these 7 days, Ling Zhao had completely cleared all his villain points and used them for cultivation. with his Tao body devouring the spiritual aura of heaven and earth. His cultivation had entered the third-grade divine emperor realm. On the third day, when the sky just turned bright, there were demonic clouds on 9 Phantom Mountain. Billowing demonic aura swept over from the 1,000 demonic sacred mountain like a hurricane. The entire north border was in an uproar. Even the experts of the demon clan who did not follow Long Xian walked out of their clan grounds and looked at the towering mountain that pierced through the clouds. The saint of the saints sect was arrogant and cruel. On the first day of his arrival in the north border, he had killed thousands of living beings. Many of them were outstanding talents of the younger generation of the demon clan. No one would be able to take this lying down. Now that the king of demons had ascended the throne and led the demon emperors and demon kings, even the divine master would not be able to protect him. Virum. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound in the void. Then, many terrifying demonic shadows appeared and turned into human figures, standing at the top of the sky. The vast demonic aura covered the clouds and the sun, and the heavens and the earth seemed to be in darkness. Blinding lightning struck from the sky, and demonic runes appeared, extending for thousands of miles. On 9 Phantom Mountain, the demons of the north border were trembling. They forced themselves to calm down and stood behind 9 Phantom. In front of them, Ling Xiao was leaning on a golden chair. He held a jade cup in his hand and gently sipped wine. In his arms, Ziyan narrowed her eyes as if she was taking a nap. Her snow-white fur was slender and smooth, and she was extremely alluring. With her divine soul level and control over her soul consciousness, even an exalted realm expert would not be able to detect her demonic aura when she intentionally hid her cultivation level. Therefore, on the surface, there was only 1/9 grade divine emperor in 9 Phantom Mountain, and that was Xionghuan. Master, they are here. Floey looked up at the countless demonic shadows that appeared out of nowhere. There was no fear on her face. Instead, there was a hint of greed. If she could devour all the demonic cores of these demons, would she become a god on the spot and reach the peak of the divine emperor realm? Swish! Swallowing the sky demon dragon meant devouring all living beings to cultivate one's body. The demonic core was the foundation of the demon clan, especially the demonic core of a divine emperor. 1, 2, 3, 4. There seem to be dozens of demon emperors in this world. Indeed, following the young master would make the world bleak. You are the saint of the sacred sect. Suddenly, a cold voice came from behind the demons. Then, the Blue Dragon Emperor and the other demon clan experts retreated to the side and bowed to the graceful figure in golden robes behind them. Welcome, divine ancestor. Chapter 855. Ancestor, are we really not going to see Jishi? At the peak of Qingqiu Mountain, the nine-tailed fox empress looked worried. How could she not see the demonic clouds that covered thousands of miles in the direction of 9 Phantom Mountain? It was obvious that all the powerful cultivators of the 1,000 Demon Sacred Mountain had come out this time to completely destroy 9 Phantom Mountain. Since the Blue Dragon Emperor dared to have such thoughts, she was probably prepared to completely fall out with the saint. So what if we go? Rumor has it that a demon emperor has appeared in the 1,000 Demon Sacred Mountain with the bloodline of the true dragon. If the Divine Master does not appear, we can't change anything even if we go. Bai Qian's old face was also filled with worry. She could not see through him anymore. Was the saint's son really arrogant and ignorant? Or was the saint playing a big game of chess? With the strength of the Blue Dragon Emperor and the White Elephant Emperor and the 8 Demon Kings following them, only the Divine Master could resolve this crisis in the entire Xingzhou. But even if the Divine Master came, would he really dare to kill the Demon Clan? If he did, the prestige that the saint had built for thousands of years would be completely destroyed. The saint controlled the world with benevolence and emphasized the equality of all living things. Although that was what they said, any knowledgeable cultivator would not believe it. But that was the bottom line and the way the saint controlled people. But that was also the reason why Bai Qian was confused. What was this holy son of the sacred sect planning to do? But, ancestor, if something happens to Jixi, the demon emperor might not let the Qingqiu clan go. Why don't? The nine-tailed fox empress' eyes flashed with a hint of darkness. The Qingqiu clan was now on the verge of death. Whether the saint or the demon clan won the battle today, it would not benefit the fox clan at all. This clan seemed to be neutral, but wasn't in a dilemma. Jixi is now on the same side as the saint. I'm afraid the Blue Dragon Emperor already sees us as an enemy. But you and I both know that if Jiro does not compromise, the Divine Master will attack us sooner or later. Bai Qian sighed softly, looking especially lonely. She hoped that the demon clan would uproot the saint so that the Qingqiu clan would not be oppressed by the Divine Master. However, Bai Jixi was now with the Holy Son of the sacred sect. There were even rumors in the northern borderline that the Holy Son had killed thousands of demons to save Bai Jixi. It seemed that the Holy Son treated Bai Jixi very well. When faced with a dilemma, one had to make a decision. Especially now, the survival of the Green Hill sect was on the line. Let's wait and see. Right now, the fate of Qingqiu is in the hands of the heavens, not you and me. In the end, Bai Qian sighed and turned to walk into the depths of Green Hill. She wanted to see Bai Jiro and ask her what secrets she was hiding from the entire Xingzhou. Patriarch! The nine-tailed fox empress clenched her fists tightly as tears welled up in her beautiful eyes. Could it be that Qingqiu was really going to be destroyed at his hands? At the top of Nine Nether Mountain, Ling Xiao slowly sat up straight. He raised his head and looked at the beautiful golden-robed figure who slowly walked out from behind the thousand demons. A hint of surprise faintly flashed in his eyes. Originally, he had thought that the demon race's divine ancestor, who had been invincible since the beginning of the battle, was most likely a man. Who would have thought that she was such a seductive woman? 7,000 Providence points, a 6th-grade divine emperor, and the 5 elemental laws of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. As expected of the invincible sword style. With this kind of opening, she could basically insta-kill everyone except for the final boss. However, what truly piqued Ling Xiao's interest was not this woman's innate talent, but her bones. True Dragon Saint Bone? No wonder even the Blue Dragon Emperor, a 9th-grade divine emperor, had to bow down to this woman. Just the dragon aura of the true dragon Saint Bone alone was not something that an azure dragon could resist. However, there was indeed a dragon aura lingering around this woman, and it was even more terrifying than Huahua's. However, her bloodline fluctuation did not belong to the dragon race. Have you fused with the dragon bone? Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent, and his eyes were clear. According to Ziyin, only one true dragon had been born in the history of the Shengzhou sect, and that was the origin of the dragon soul in the Shengzhou sect. Since this true dragon had already fallen, it was reasonable for its bones to be scattered in the Shengzhou sect. You are the holy son of the sacred sect? Long Xian's golden robe fluttered even though there was no wind. Her fiery red hair rose like flames, and every strand was sparkling. She stood at the top of the sky like a god overlooking the world, and her eyes were filled with indifference. Tell me, how do you want to die? Obediently accept your death, or struggle a little? Who are you? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows. How arrogant. She did not even respect the holy son of the sacred sect. This is the Northern Territory Divine Emperor, Long Xian. The Blue Dragon Emperor snorted coldly, and her gaze swept across the figures behind Ling Xiao. However, just as his gaze landed on Huahua, he clearly felt an inexplicable palpitation in his heart. Long Xian? Ling Xiao smiled gently. I've heard that only the true dragon clan is qualified to use the word dragon as their surname. You're just a mongrel demon who is fused with a dragon bone, and you want to pretend to be a true dragon? How dare you? Long Xian's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and her pretty face instantly turned ferocious. Beside her, the Blue Dragon Emperor took a step forward and was about to land on Ling Xiao. However, at this moment, Xionghuan's figure was already standing in front of Ling Xiao. That pair of ancient and empty eyes actually caused the dignified #1 demon emperor of the northern frontier to feel a sense of fear once again. Well, what is going on? Why is this young man's random follower able to shake my Tao heart? Human ant, I admit, you've angered me a little. Long Xian took a deep breath, and a sinister smile appeared on her pretty face. Then, she lowered her head to look at Nine Nether and the others, and her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. At this moment, she could feel a trace of Tao power from Nine Nether and Hua Hua, and an evil thought appeared in her heart. In fact, although Hua Hua had concealed her aura and bloodline, Long Xian still felt an extremely strange bloodline connection the moment their eyes met. Could it be that the ripple of the same origin that I felt earlier was from this young girl? Long Xian frowned slightly and snorted in her heart. No matter what, as long as she killed all these people in front of her, all the secrets would be revealed. Since this was all done by the saint, I'll give Nine Nether Mountain a chance. If you kneel down and submit to me now, I can let bygones be bygones. In Long Xian's eyes, the saint was not just arrogant. He was simply courting death. That's right. She was indeed not from the dragon race. Her bloodline was lowly, and she was an earth dragon from the mountains. She was not even comparable to a flood dragon. It was also because of this that she changed her surname to Long after fusing with the dragon bone, just to cover up her past and start a new era of invincibility. However, she did not expect this human saint to be so arrogant and still dare to mock her at this moment. In this way, it would be too easy for him to be killed. Long Xian decided that she would make him fall into regret and despair step by step, and finally tear him apart with her own hands. What bullsh *T saint? Shengzhou will be renamed Dragon State in the future. What? There's such a good thing. Hearing Long Xian's words, the group of 9 Nether Mountain God Emperors became excited. However, when they saw the black flames flickering in Nine Nether's eyes, they felt a chill run down their spines. Even so, there were still 2 Emperor gods who knelt on the ground and shouted, "Demon Emperor! Demon Emperor is blessed by the heavens." Seeing this, Long Xian's smile grew wider. Did you see that? This is reality. As long as you are strong enough, you will not have any enemies. However, just as she lowered her head to look at the saint's expression, her eyes narrowed. Chapter 856. In front of the hall, Ling Xiao looked at the 2 9 serene mountain god emperors kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. His lips curled into a playful smile. Did you see that? There is no such thing as loyalty in this world, especially on the path to immortality. Everyone cherishes their lives and pursues immortality. Am I not trusting them? Yes, I have seen many sides of the human heart. You. Nine Serene's expression froze as she stepped forward. Seeing this, the 2 god emperors stood up in a panic and rushed toward Long Xian. Demon Emperor, save us. Those who betray the 9 Serene Mountain will be killed without mercy. 9 Serene's figure rose into the air as purple flames burned around her. Instantly, a terrifying heat spread out between heaven and earth, causing ripples in the void. However, at this moment, Long Xian's figure suddenly disappeared and appeared in front of 9 Serene in the next instant. I see that you are quite talented. Why do you need to be a servant of a demon race? Follow me, and I will grant you the title of a demon king. Oomph. You think you are worthy? 9 Serene snorted coldly, but her expression was inexplicably serious. In terms of cultivation level, she was no match for Long Xian. However, as a member of the Ming Feng clan, her bloodline was even more terrifying than the Blue Dragon Emperors. Long Xian had a wisp of dragon aura, but in this world, other than the young master, who was worthy of making her submit. Buzz. Without giving Long Xian a chance to speak again, 9 Serene reached out her hand and attacked first. The void within 10,000 miles instantly rippled. Layers of purple flames turned into waves and swept toward Long Xian. Instantly, the entire 9 Serene Mountain fell into a dead silence. Everyone stared in astonishment at the woman whose entire body was enveloped in flames. Evidently, they had never expected that King Yu would actually dare to attack Long Xian. One had to know that Long Xian's true dragon aura was something that even Green Dragon, by Xiang, and the others feared from the bottom of their hearts, let alone a fifth-grade god emperor. A mere demon king had the courage to go against a god. Feeling the terrifying aura from the black flames on Serene's body, a surprised voice suddenly sounded from 10,000 miles above the void. "You have a temper. However, he deserves to die." Long Xian's face turned even colder. In front of all the experts in the northern region, the holy son of the sacred sect was arrogant and rude. But a mere fifth-stage emperor god actually dared to go against her. With that thought, Long Xian's body suddenly emitted a golden light that shot into the sky. Then, she gently pressed down with her palm. The void ruptured with a loud bang as a golden palm pressed down from the sky, suppressing heaven and earth as it fell towards the sea of fire. Nine Nether's expression changed. Purple flames danced in her eyes, as if the shadow of a phoenix was about to break through the sky. On the other hand, the surging flames suddenly transformed into numerous flowers that bloomed in midair, and they surrounded, enveloped, and devoured the golden palm. The heavens and earth were silent, and the expected collision did not happen. However, as the song flower bloomed, all the spiritual qi and Taoist rhymes within a 1,000-mile radius were annihilated. Long Xian frowned slightly as a trace of surprise flashed across her eyes. In particular, the black-clothed figure under the dissipating purple flames was like a demon emperor who controlled the heavens and earth. She was bewitching, charming, and magnificent. The blue dragon emperor and the others looked at each other with a shocked expression. Although Long Xian's palm seemed casual, the true dragon saint's might was extremely vast. Just this might alone was not something that could be blocked by anyone. Inexplicably, the demons suddenly felt a chill in their hearts. She came prepared. Originally, they thought that the holy son of the sacred sect was extremely arrogant. But now, it seemed that the people behind him were not as simple as they seemed on the surface. "Oomph, I didn't expect you to be so capable." Long Xian snorted coldly, and the surprise on her face disappeared quickly. Although the song flame was strange, it could only withstand a casual palm from her. In other words, it would not be too difficult for her to kill Nine Nether. Nine Nether. In front of the main hall, Ling Xiao suddenly laughed softly. How could he not see that Long Xian was not serious just now, and Nine Nether Songflame was her trump card? If the two of them fought head-on, Nine Nether would definitely die. Hearing Ling Xiao's voice, the woman who was originally standing in the air with a serious expression immediately descended from the sky and stood respectfully behind Ling Xiao. "Oomph, holy son of a sacred sect, I admit that I have underestimated you, but you will still die today." Long Xian placed her hands behind her back and looked down at the crowd. However, Ling Xiao shook his head and smiled. "I am a gentle person by nature, and I dislike killing the most. But the demon race is overbearing and cruel. You have gone too far. Why? Are you looking down on the sacred sect?" Gentle. Hearing that, the group of demon kings instantly gritted their teeth. 3 days ago, blood flowed like a river in Nine Nether Mountain, and thousands of demon race prodigies died. You are gentle? Are the demon race going too far? Or is the sacred sect being too arrogant? How dare you? You killed nearly 1,000 demon race prodigies, and you dare to slander my race? Does the sacred sect really look down on the Shengzhou race? The Blue Dragon Emperor stepped forward and stood in front of Long Xian. He had seen how arrogant the demon race's divine ancestor was. But if the demon race wanted to rebel, there had to be a reason. Only then could the various forces in the Shengzhou race respond and completely overthrow the sacred sect's rule. He could kill a holy son of the sacred sect with a wave of his hand. But if he wanted to plot against the world, he had to be careful. Slander? Ling Xiao smiled and said calmly, "Bring him up." Liang Yi quickly walked out of the hall and threw a haggard and weak figure in front of Ling Xiao. It was Ao Qing, whose reincarnation mark had been dug out. Do you know this person? Ling Xiao looked up at Long Xian. His eyes were clear and deep, making the new demon race emperor's heart palpitate slightly. Ao Qing. Seeing Ao Qing's bloodied face and extremely weak aura, Long Xian's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Long Xian did not have deep feelings for this bootlicker, but that did not mean that others could hurt him. Back then, when her bloodline was lowly, she had been ridiculed and despised too much. No matter how talented she was and how much stronger she was than her peers, she was still looked down upon wherever she went, especially those demon race who had even the slightest relationship with the dragon race. They saw her as a disgrace to the dragon race. Therefore, when Long Xian accidentally merged with the dragon bone and walked out of the seal, she swore that she would make all the demon race kneel before her. The power and status to control the fate of others gave Long Xian an indescribable sense of satisfaction. As for Ao Qing, he was a dragon race prodigy with a terrifying bloodline, but because he was a member of the sea race, he had been bullied by the northern border demon race. Long Xian saw some of her past self in him, and because of his dragon race bloodline, Long Xian was very satisfied that he had to bow down to her. True dragon, flood dragon, demon emperor, and demon king, all of them have to kneel before me. Human race holy son, I admit that you have completely angered me. Long Xian took a deep breath, and her red hair danced in the wind. Dark clouds gathered at the end of the sky, and the heavenly might turned into lightning. It was obvious that this self-proclaimed invincible demon emperor was on the verge of exploding. In fact, if the blue dragon emperor had not stopped her, she would have already killed Ling Xiao on the spot. Chapter 857. Tell me, what did you do in the 9 underworld mountain? Ling Xiao stepped on Ao Qing's face and smiled warmly. But at this moment, in Long Xian's eyes, his actions were a blatant humiliation. Utter humiliation. Huff! Long Xian took a deep breath while the Blue Dragon Emperor used her divine soul to send a voice transmission. Divine Ancestor, please calm down. There's an aura hidden in this mountain and a trace of an array formation. I'm afraid it's a trap. He's purposely angering you. So what if it's an array formation? So what if it's a trap? Long Xian gritted her teeth as her eyes shone with golden light. Even her hair seemed to be on fire as it emitted a blinding light. Let him go. Otherwise, I'll destroy this mountain today. Haha. Why is Demon Emperor Long Xian so angry? Ao Qing brought thousands of demons to the 9 underworld mountain and said that he wanted to capture my maidservant and kill my subordinates. Is it wrong for me to kill a few powerful demons? Ling Xiao smiled mockingly. With one sentence, he had completely reversed the positions of both sides. Look at how angry all of you are. Why? Do you understand my anger now? It's only right for me to kill thousands of demons. What I'm doing now is to make you feel the same way. I'll say it again. Let him go. However, before Long Xian could speak again, Ling Xiao suddenly lifted his leg and stepped on Ao Qing's head. His head was instantly crushed, and blood and brain matter splattered all over the ground. It was a tragic sight. At the same time, a mechanical voice sounded in Ling Xiao's soul sea. Beep! Congratulations to the host for successfully using the Empyrean Talisman. You can kill the Heavenly Mandate at will to obtain rewards. Beep! Congratulations to the host for killing the Son of Destiny. You have gained 2,500 luck points and 25,000 villain points. Beep! Congratulations to the host for obtaining an additional reward, 2% Destiny Forging points. Beep! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a chance to perfect the Tao Law. Beep! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a grade 8 Mystic Jade Elixir. Human Ant, you're courting death. Finally, Long Xian let out a furious roar and disappeared into thin air. When she appeared once more, she was already a meter away from Ling Xiao. Her bare foot was covered in dazzling golden light, as if it was made from gold, and it carried the might to obliterate the heavens and the earth as it stomped down fiercely towards Ling Xiao. Vaguely, There seemed to be an illusory golden dragon descending from the sky, crushing the void and crashing down. She wanted to use Ling Xiao's method to crush his head. However, at this moment, Ling Xiao's face did not show any signs of fear. This Longxian was indeed a replica of Ao Tian. Even in her rage, she did not use her full strength. Although this kick was a serious one, it did not contain the power of the Great Path, nor did it contain the divine bones Saint Might. It was just a display of his physical body's level. Of course, in Longxian's eyes, Ling Xiao was just a young man from the human race. Even if his background was terrifying, his cultivation level was naturally far below hers. The more effortlessly she killed, the more awesome she proved herself to be, and the better it would be to slap her in the face. Suddenly, there was a surge of spiritual light in the sky. It was a blinding silver-white color. Around Ling Xiao, there was lightning that shone for 3,000 miles, blocking everyone's sight. Then, he threw a punch that pierced through the void and smashed towards the golden dragon. Under the cover of the lightning, that the monsters could not see, Ling Xiao's entire arm was covered in a layer of dense and terrifying black scales. They were densely packed and revealed a menacing demonic will. That's right. Although the sky demon armor was born in the primordial world, the scales on the gauntlet were made from the reverse scale of a true dragon. Everyone knew that a true dragon only had one reverse scale that was connected to its heart. This reverse scale was not originally black, but had been soaked in the sky demon's will for hundreds of thousands of years, turning into such a deep and terrifying color. It was hard to imagine how many true dragons had to be killed to completely refine this gauntlet. Boom! There was a terrifying collision sound. The space where Ling Xiao and Longxian's fists collided suddenly turned black. It was as deep as the nine sky demon abyss. Shock flashed across the monsters' faces. It was not that they thought Longxian would lose, but they were shocked that a human could survive the divine ancestor's kick without being injured. Crack! There was the sound of bones breaking. Then, Longxian flew out in front of everyone's shocked eyes. She crashed into the ancient palace and fell down. At this moment, her internal organs showed signs of shattering. A stream of blood flowed down from the corner of her mouth. Her golden eyes were filled with indescribable shock. Dust flew everywhere, and broken walls flew everywhere. Heaven and earth fell into a dead silence. On the other hand, Ling Xiao, in his black robe, had a transcendent aura. He slowly retracted his arm, and the indifference on his face was more like a sneer that slapped the monster emperors and monster kings in the face. Although everyone knew that the holy son of the sacred sect was powerful and had terrifying talents, but they did not expect this young man to send Longxian, a sixth-grade god emperor and monster emperor, flying with one punch. He was invincible? You deserve to die for provoking the sacred sect. Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back. He did not give Longxian any chance to breathe. He stretched out his finger, and the sound of a sword could be heard. Thousands of divine runes flowed from his fingertips, and a vast sword intent slashed out. It was like a falling star, smashing into the dust. Brat, how dare you? The Blue Dragon Emperor's expression changed drastically. However, just as she was about to rush out and block the Ling Xiao sword intent, a golden light suddenly appeared from the depths of the ancient palace. It was as if a scorching sun was shining on the world. Runes shot into the sky, and thousands of rays of light shot out. Layers of Taoist rhymes covered heaven and earth, turning into thousands of divine elephants that blocked the sword intent. A figure slowly walked out from where the golden light shone. Her golden robe was already torn, revealing a golden silk inner armor. It made Longxian's figure even more beautiful. But what was surprising was that this monster emperor had countless totem tattoos on her body. They were complex and ancient and gave off an indescribable evil aura. Even her arms were covered with countless green-red runes, as if they were carved by ghosts and gods. It made her look even more domineering. She looked a little haggard. Her red hair was scattered, and blood was flowing from the corner of her mouth. But there was no disappointment in her eyes. Instead, there was a hint of excitement. Not bad. You're not bad. I haven't been so excited in a long time. It was obvious that Ling Zhao's strength did not affect this monster emperor's Dao heart. Instead, it made her want to fight even more. I originally thought that I was invincible in this world. Even those who stood at the top of the world were only built up over time. I did not expect that there would be such a terrifying talent in the holy continent. Sacred son of the sacred sect, you are worthy of fighting with me. Long Xian wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and revealed a cruel and domineering smile. From beginning to end, Ling Zhao's expression did not change at all. There was only a hint of playfulness in the corner of his eyes. He had used the power of the unforgiven demonic armor to smash Long Xian's leg bones. However, at this moment, the injuries on her body had mysteriously disappeared. Interesting. The power of the true dragon bone. Chapter 858. Holy Son of the Saint. Today, I will use your life to prove my undefeatable Tao. Long Xian stepped in the air, and layers of golden dragon scales appeared under her feet. It was like a divine river in the 9 heavens, making her look even more majestic and holy. A golden inscription shone between her eyebrows. The power of heaven and earth surged from it, reflecting the sky and suppressing the mountains and seas. It was a pure power of the 5 elements and 5 directions. With the 5 elements, she had 7,000 providence. This Long Xian was not weak. Furthermore, her terrifying recovery speed made Ling Xiao feel that it was interesting. Although the true dragon bone could not be compared to the sky demon's remains, it was clear that as the only dragon in this ancient land, the power of the true dragon could be said to be destructive and mysterious. Gradually, Ling Xiao had many guesses. No matter who slayed the dragon, or whether the true dragon was born in this world, that person's goal was to use the power of heaven and earth to completely suppress this world and suppress the sky demon's aura. Furthermore, judging from the dragon scales on Ling Zhao's unforgiven battle armor, there should be many dragons in the 9 heavens. The true dragon of the Shenzhou continent that could suppress the sky demon's aura was most likely not simple. The will of the sky demon was immortal and indestructible. It was impossible to destroy it. Only an existence that could truly communicate with the great Tao of heaven and earth, or even surpass the will of heaven and earth, could seal it. However, it was difficult to suppress it. Although the ancestor dragon of Taichu had fallen, it had turned into the 9 great divine dragons. However, it was unknown which one existed in the Shenzhou continent. Ling Xiao stood in front of the collapsed ancient palace and looked calmly at the golden figure walking over. Domineering, tattoos, permed hair. Yes, this Long Xian must be a good girl. According to the settings of this world, she could very likely become the true battle force that destroyed the saint. However, their relationship was a little blurry. But for a Long Aoyan model like this, only by beating her into submission would he be able to go toe-to-toe with her. No, only then would he be able to take advantage of her. Ling Xiao could only think of one person who had the potential to have such strength: Ling Tian. F***CK. In that case, according to the original plot, Long Xian would have become Ling Tian's harem. While it was normal for the Son of Heaven to have countless harems, especially for a sword cultivator like Ling Tian who was neither righteous nor evil, it was easy for him to attract suitors. The Son of Heaven was a son of heaven. But, little brother, it's not that I don't want to give it to you. It's just that I'm afraid you won't be able to subdue this kind of good girl with tattoos and dyed hair. At this time, in Ling Zhao's soul sea, Ao Qing's soul had also been completely devoured. He also knew the origin of the Flood Dragon clan's young master's providence. It turned out that the mark of samsara between his eyebrows was a companion existence. Among them, there were some vague waves of divine consciousness and a supreme divine ability. Ao Qing had relied on this cultivation method to raise his cultivation without any bottlenecks. On the other hand, that strand of soul fluctuation was faintly guiding him to the upper realm to search for the true meaning of reincarnation. Logically speaking, if not for the appearance of Ling Xiao, Ao Qing's future achievements would not be too low. Unfortunately, regardless of whether he left the sea or not, it was difficult for him to overcome this tribulation. However, according to Liang Yi, it was very likely that Ao Qing was a disciple chosen by that mysterious power. Reincarnation heavenly abode? He wondered if there was someone like Ao Qing in the Azure world who was guided by the divine abyss of samsara. Divine Ancestor, the Blue Dragon Emperor, and the others stood in the void, their eyes trembling. Their faces were filled with intense shock. Divine Ancestor, as expected of you, even though Ling Xiao's technique was heaven-defying, it did not seem to be a threat to the Divine Ancestor at all. Moreover, until now, Long Xian had not used her true trump card. The saint of the sacred sect could be killed with a wave of her hand. Invincible? You must have some misunderstanding about invincibility. Ling Xiao smiled. His aura was transcendent. His gaze swept past the Blue Dragon Emperor and the others. He was slightly stunned. He had indeed set up something on this 9 Underworlds mountain. However, these dozens of Fey emperors and Fey kings had not even stepped into the formation yet. They had probably sensed it already. Therefore, he needed to use some methods to make them forget about their worries. Let's see how long you can be so stubborn. Long Xian took a deep breath and stepped forward. The totems around her shone with boundless divine light. Vaguely, there seemed to be 5 Fey figures standing behind her, corresponding to the 5 elements of heaven and earth. The golden dragon stood in the center. The black tiger divine ape, gray wolf fire lizard split into 2 sides and roared at the sky. At first glance, it looked like a 5-headed demon. Although it looked eerie and terrifying, its demonic aura sent chills down the spines of the Fey kings present. After being sealed for 1,000 years, Long Xian had already devoured the 4 prodigies who had been forced to guard the formation back then. Even their nomological bloodlines had become the foundation for Long Xian's invincible path. With the 5 nomological bloodlines, who could compete with her in this world? Right now, Long Xian's aura was surging like the sea. She exuded the aura of a king's Sunday. This is what you're relying on? Ling Xiao shook his head and chuckled. He looked very calm. When the Fey kings saw this, they felt a faint chill in their hearts. If these words were spoken by someone else, they would have been mocked and looked down upon. They would have taken it as bragging. But for some reason, when they thought about how this young man forced Long Xian to retreat with 1 punch, they felt inexplicably uneasy. Long Xian did not use her full strength. Could it be that the saint was also hiding his true strength? Today, I will show you what it means to be invincible. With that, Ling Xiao no longer hesitated. With the Sky Amplification Talisman, he did not need to spend so much effort to steal Long Xian's fate. He could kill her and obtain her destiny. As for her powerful recovery ability, Ling Xiao thought it was just the power of the true dragon divine bone. It was not enough. No matter how terrifying her talent was, there was a limit. And what Ling Xiao had been doing was to break that limit. Buzz. Between heaven and earth, a terrifying roar resounded for thousands of miles. Ling Xiao stepped forward and stood in the sky. Around him, thousands of strange phenomena began to rise. The ancient forest of heavenly trees, the Fey wind. Even Long Xian's 5 elements energy flowed around Ling Xiao. It was tens of thousands of times more terrifying than the formers. How is this possible? Long Xian's expression froze as she stared blankly at the figure of the young man dressed in black. For a moment, she was unable to react. A mere worm dares to be so arrogant in front of me. Ling Xiao's lips curled up coldly. Then, before Long Xian could react, he struck out with his palm. The sky collapsed, and a vast amount of Taoist rhyme covered the sky. An ancient heavenly seal slammed down from the sky. It was dazzling and contained an indescribable power that suppressed Long Xian. Wherever the heavenly seal passed, celestial shadows appeared and protected her. There was also a Buddhist light and a Buddhist chant. However, in front of Long Xian's eyes, there was only one demonic sun that shattered the heavens and fell from the sky with an ancient aura. It was unstoppable and undefeatable. For the first time, Long Xian was shaken by the word invincible. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.